Chapter 2401. Are you even human? 2. Lung Ruoxia's words successfully caused Feng Xiao and the other two to break out in even more cold sweat. The Phoenix tribesman who had brought them to the parasol tree forest said with a nervous and fearful expression, "Lord Lianwu, you can't use violence on the parasol tree. You can't hurt them." "Can't hurt them? Emph. These trees have been spoiled by your phoenix kind. If they dare to disobey me, I will chop them down and burn them like firewood." Lung Ruoxia scoffed. Upon hearing this, the member of the Phoenix clan was silent for a moment. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and thought to himself, "So you guys don't need the parasol tree anymore, but they do. How could he not be good to these trees?" One must know that the Phoenix clansmen were practically treating these parasol trees like their ancestors. They were afraid that they would go on strike collectively. Of course, some of the parasol trees had gone on strike. However, there were still some who were working normally, weren't there? If Lord Lianwu's few words made those parasol trees, which were barely able to work normally, go on strike, then their Phoenix clan would have no place to cry. Thus, he really didn't want to see Lord Lianwu treat the parasol trees like this. At this moment, the truth of Lord Lianwu's words could be ignored, but it was absolutely impossible to scare these parasol trees. However, it was a pity that Lung Ruoxia wouldn't give him any face at all. She rolled her eyes at the Phoenix clansman whose expression had suddenly turned ugly. She then continued, "You'd better learn how I deal with these stubborn parasol trees." "I don't want to learn." He didn't dare to threaten the parasol trees, because they really dared to go on strike in a fit of anger. But it was not up to him to learn or not. Lung Ruoxia stretched out her chubby, fair hand and touched the stubborn parasol tree. Then she mumbled, "This place is not bad. If I cut it down, I can make a chair. Let's just burn the branches like firewood. Oh, it can be used to cook rice, roast meat and roast fish." Lung Ruoxia added with a smirk. Upon hearing this, the branches of the Wutong tree shook even more violently. As for the unlucky member of the Phoenix clan, his face was getting paler and paler, and his whole body was trembling. At this moment he really wanted to faint. Wu! Could he not face this violent and terrifying woman? "Little tree, have you made your choice? Do you want to come with me obediently? Or do you want to be used as firewood or made into a chair?" Lung Ruoxia didn't want to put on a one-man show, so she would ask this question from time to time. The parasol tree was furious. This human woman actually dared to treat it like this. It was preposterous. The indignant parasol tree suddenly felt aggrieved as it thought about it. Who did it offend this time? How did he meet such a female fiend? This human woman was simply too shameless. It had lived in the Phoenix Territory's parasol tree forest since it was young, and had never seen someone like Lung Ruoxia who would threaten it. This was because the Phoenix clan had always been very protective of them. Hence, the parasol tree was not used to such a huge contrast. However, it was also afraid that this woman would really do what she said. Although it was just a tree, it was not stupid. It was very smart. Looking at the way the Phoenix clan member treated this human, it could guess that this human's identity was not simple. If she really treated it as she said and the Phoenix King did not help it, it was really possible that it would die. As the saying goes, a true man knows when to yield and when not to. After thinking through all of this, a certain parasol tree that Lung Ruoxia had used as a warning finally gave in. It said to Lung Ruoxia while choking with sobs, "I'll go with you. It's really aggrieved. Thanks to this works too?" Feng Xiao and the other two were dumbfounded. None of them had expected that the parasol tree would be afraid. This was the first time they had seen it. However, no matter what, Feng Xiao felt that the parasol tree that he was most familiar with was willing to leave with him. He was still very happy. Following that, he heard Lung Ruoxia say to the parasol tree, "That's a good girl. No matter if it's a person or a tree, the most important thing is to be practical. So, your choice is wise. In addition, don't be afraid of me. I'm just scaring you. I won't really use you as a chair or as firewood. That would be too wasteful." Ugh. After hearing this, Feng Xiao was simply speechless and didn't know what to say. When the Phoenix clansman saw that Lung Ruoxia had already taken away 2 of the parasol trees, he immediately said, "Lord Lianwu, now there are already 2 parasol trees willing to follow you. Do you think we can go back? Why go back? Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes and asked innocently after hearing what the Phoenix clansman said. The Phoenix clansman was speechless. Could he say that taking away 2 trees was already a lot? One must know that every single parasol tree was precious to the Phoenix tribe. With just these 2, the Phoenix King would probably be heartbroken to see them. After thinking about it carefully, the Phoenix clansman didn't know what to say. He didn't want to be too direct, but if he didn't say anything, Lung Ruoxua would naturally pretend to be confused. Following that, he heard Lung Ruoxua say, "You said that there are already 2 parasol trees that are willing to follow me, but in fact, neither of these 2 trees are willing to leave with me. So, I still want to try and see if there are any trees that are willing to leave with me." Was this the rhythm of continuing to choose and threaten? The Phoenix clansman was dumbfounded again. He couldn't help but roar in his heart, "Lord Lian Wu, I beg you stop picking. 2 trees were enough." Sob. The pitiful members of the Phoenix clan looked at Feng Xiao and Feng Luo with a pleading look. Although these 2 were about to leave the clan, they were still members of the clan. They couldn't just watch a human woman harm their clan, could they? But unfortunately, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo chose to turn a blind eye to his pleading eyes. Who asked Feng Xiao to think that he and his brother's parasol trees had been settled, but his parents had not. Hence, he supported Lung Ruoxua in choosing a few more parasol trees. If Feng Xiao could think this way, Feng Luo, who thought he was protective of his own people, naturally thought so. As for that crying phoenix man, no one had the time to care about him. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo watched as Lung Ruoxua looked left and right to choose a parasol tree that caught her eye. They immediately walked to her side and instructed her. "Lord Lianwu, the thicker a parasol tree is, the longer it has grown, and the higher the intelligence it will produce. And a parasol tree like this is the greatest help to our Phoenix tribe." Oh, Lung Ruoxua nodded to show that she understood. She then turned to the Phoenix clansman, who was crying as if his father had died, and asked, "Are there any parasol trees that are older than this one?" There are. The moment the member of the Phoenix tribe heard this, he beamed with joy. In his heart, the older a parasol tree was, the more difficult it would be to serve it. Not only that, but most importantly, the older parasol trees were all on strike. Hence, he was more willing to let Lung Ruoxua choose from there rather than from the ones that were suitable for the Phoenix tribe to cultivate. Chapter 2402. Are you even human? 3. He knew that no one could take the parasol tree away. In this case, this human woman should naturally give up, right? The Phoenix clansman thought to himself with a pleased expression. When Feng Xiao and Feng Luo heard how excited their clansmen were, their hearts sank. They had already guessed where the parasol tree was. The 2 of them looked at each other gloomily. Initially, they had wanted to tell Lung Ruoxua how to choose the best parasol tree, but who knew that they would let their clansmen take advantage of the loophole? Were they overreaching themselves? Especially when they saw Lung Ruoxua's clueless expression. The 2 of them felt even more depressed. However, at this moment, it was not good for them to be too clear with Lung Ruoxua. After all, this was the Phoenix clan, and they had not left. However, even if they did not say anything, it did not mean that Lung Ruoxua would not take the initiative to ask. Lung Ruoxua glanced at Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, who were suddenly depressed. She then asked with a curious look, "Why did your clansmen suddenly become so happy when they heard that I wanted an old parasol tree? Could there be something fishy going on?" She didn't lower her voice at all. The 3 of them didn't even need to prick up their ears to hear her clearly. As soon as she said this, the face of the member of the Feng clan turned red. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo couldn't help but cough awkwardly. However, their gloominess instantly disappeared. "The old sycamore tree is currently on strike," Feng Luo said very honestly. Although they're on strike, I believe that with Lord Lianwu's charm, those trees will definitely take the initiative to bow under your skirt." The Phoenix clansman hurriedly explained when he saw that his thoughts were clear. However, Lung Ruoxua still looked at him with an expression that said, "So you didn't have good intentions." Instantly his old face burned. Sob. How did I get exposed so quickly? He could not understand. She couldn't help but secretly glare at Feng Luo, who had exposed her. She thought to herself, This little brat is really unlikable. While she was at it, she carefully stole a glance at Lung Ruoxue. This human wouldn't smash the Feng clan in a fit of anger, right? However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't as angry as he thought she would be. Instead, she smiled and said, "Although you have some bad intentions, your flattery really hit the nail on the head. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Quickly take me to see those ancient sycamore trees. I'll have to properly appreciate them and see how old they are." Yes. This way, Lord Lianwu. The Phoenix clansman's heart, which had been in his throat, was greatly relieved. That was close. However, at least he was safe. The place they were at just now was the periphery of the parasol tree forest, and the periphery was basically filled with some relatively younger parasol trees. If they wanted to see the older parasol trees, they had to go deeper into the parasol tree forest. Lung Ruoxue and the other two followed the guide from the Phoenix clan. The deeper they went into the parasol tree forest, the denser the fire-type spiritual chi became. Not long after, Lung Ruoxue saw many parasol trees that required 10 people to surround them. However, according to a certain guide, these parasol trees were not the oldest ones. There were even older ones among them. The moment Lung Ruoxue heard this, she immediately urged the guide to lead them further in. However, they had not walked far when a huge sycamore tree blocked their way. "Is there something?" Lung Ruoxue glanced at the parasol tree that was blocking their way and asked indifferently, "Were you the one who threatened my junior, saying that you would use it as a chair and firewood?" An old face appeared on the giant parasol tree, and there was a hint of dissatisfaction in his tone. "Yes, it's me." Lung Ruoxue did not deny it. When the huge parasol tree heard Lung Ruoxue's words, it flew into a rage. Its lush branches trembled violently to show its dissatisfaction. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the giant parasol tree again and asked, "What's the use of shaking your branches when you're angry? I'm not afraid." You, despicable human. You're too infuriating." The huge sycamore tree was enraged, and its dense branches trembled even more violently. However, Lung Ruoxue still had a smile on her face as she coldly asked, "Excuse me, are you a human?" The huge sycamore tree instantly turned to stone. It really didn't seem like a human. Seeing the huge parasol tree's dejected look, Lung Ruoxue patted its trunk and consoled it. "Little tree, that descendant of yours is too disobedient. He already promised to leave with me, but he still complained to you. When I go back later, I'll definitely teach him a good lesson. Don't worry, jade can't be made into anything if it's not cut. I'll do everything I can to cultivate it into something useful. Thanks. No, you can't bully it." Hearing this, the giant parasol tree immediately came back to its senses and shouted, "Then what do you think we should do? It's a snitch. I can't let this happen, otherwise it might betray me in the future. I can't take this risk." Lung Ruoxue said with a serious expression, "I won't. It won't do that, so you can't bully it." The giant parasol tree said hurriedly, Yes, in front of you, I promise you that I won't bully it. However, it's going to leave with me. Even if I bully it, you won't be able to see it." Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Then what should we do?" The giant parasol tree was at a loss for words. After being a tree for so many years, it did not have the heart of a human. Hence, Lung Ruoxue's words made it feel conflicted. Feng Xiu and the other two who had also heard this, had completely different reactions. Feng Xiu and Feng Luo wanted to hear the old tree say, "I'll go with you and watch over you so that you don't bully your juniors." However, a certain member of the Feng clan had a bad premonition in his heart. Following that, a certain Phoenix clansman heard Lung Ruoxue say, "Why don't you come with me?" Upon hearing this, the Phoenix clansman, who thought that she was in a pathetic state, revealed an expression of "I knew it." She couldn't help but feel disgusted in her heart. This human woman was really too despicable. She actually spared no effort in kidnapping the parasol tree. However, he had a deep understanding of the stubbornness of these parasol trees. He knew that this old tree would definitely not agree to Lung Ruoxue's suggestion. Hence, he was really not worried that Lung Ruoxue would be able to snatch this tree away. Lung Ruoxue's words also made the old tree fall silent for a long time. It was so long that a certain Phoenix clansman thought that the old sycamore tree would definitely refuse. Only then did the old sycamore tree slowly open its golden mouth and say, I can leave this place with you, but you can't bully us. Yes. The little tree was its grandson and the closest relative it had alive. Therefore, it was really worried that its grandson would leave with a human. If something really happened, it would regret it for the rest of its life. Therefore, it felt that it was more at ease to follow and watch by itself. It also didn't want its grandson to annoy this human because of his stubbornness. If she really killed him, it would be the one who regretted it. It had agreed to Lung Ruoxia's request so easily. This was something that Feng Xiao and the other two did not expect. However, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo were still rather excited about this outcome. On the other hand, a certain Phoenix clansman was in a state of confusion. It was as if his parents had died. His face turned from white to black, then black to white. Seeing that the parasol tree was so tactful, Lung Ruoxia was very happy. She patted its trunk and comforted it. Don't worry, you won't regret following me. I won't bully you. After hearing Lung Ruoxia's promise, the old sycamore tree was relieved. However, after thinking for a while and secretly communicating with the other parasol trees beside him, the old tree said hesitantly, Human, I still have some older brothers, can you bring them along? We don't want to be separated. No problem. How much do you have? When Lung Ruoxia heard this, she couldn't ask for more. The more she looked at it, the cuter she felt this parasol tree was. This time, she really did not waste any effort. However, when a certain member of the Phoenix clan heard this, he was so angry that he fainted. This fact was such a huge blow to him that he didn't even have time to report it to the Phoenix King. When the Phoenix King heard of this matter, everything had already become a foregone conclusion. At this moment, let alone the Phoenix who was so loyal to the Phoenix clan that she had fainted from anger, even Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, who had been calm and collected, were dumbfounded when they heard this result. How did this happen? This was simply too unbelievable. At that moment, the two phoenixes felt an unprecedented sense of admiration for Lung Ruoxia. When they heard the old sycamore tree say that it wanted to leave with Lung Ruoxia, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo could not take this huge shock and fainted from happiness. Looking at the three phoenixes that had fainted, Lung Ruoxia was speechless. They really lacked training. This kind of determination is not good. Faced with Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, whose ability to take a beating was too low, Lung Ruoxia secretly decided that she would strengthen their training in this area in the future. Otherwise, how could they faint so easily? The old sycamore tree did not expect that his words would cause the three little phoenixes to faint. He muttered to himself, Human, this is none of my business. I know that you've made a wise choice. After Lung Ruoxia appeased the old sycamore tree, she praised it. Chapter 2403. Parasol Tree Mother Tree 1. Following that, Lung Ruoxia thought for a moment and said, Which tree wants to leave with me? Wave your branches and let me see. The moment he said this, Lung Ruoxia saw that the parasol trees in front of her were in a mess. The branches were shaking everywhere she looked. She casually counted, and was surprised to find that all the parasol trees in the forest were willing to leave with her. This was really great. This was the so-called getting it without any effort. Once Lung Ruoxia was happy, she immediately wanted to move the parasol trees into her bracelet. One must know that these trees were not young. If Feng Zhan and the other old phoenixes saw them, they would definitely be very happy. Thus, with a thought, all the parasol trees in front of her disappeared. The old sycamore trees, who had just been moved to a new place, were not used to it at first. But later on, they found that the spiritual qi in the place they were in was too rich. Especially the spiritual qi of the fire attribute. It was so rich that it made them ecstatic. They wondered where they were. The fire attribute in this place was even richer than the one in Phoenix territory. At that moment, the old sycamore trees were excited. They shook their branches with all their might to show their excitement. The old phoenix that had started the conversation with Lung Ruoxia called out to her carefully. Humans, are you there? Where is this place? Of course this is the little girl's space, you can live here in peace. An evil laugh rang out. But the old sycamore tree knew that this voice was definitely not the voice of the human woman from before. Who is it? Who's talking? The old sycamore tree hurriedly asked. It's me. Following these two words, a fiery red behemoth descended from the sky and landed on a wutong tree. You're the fire phoenix? The old sycamore tree's voice trembled. How could there be a phoenix tribe here? The reason why they wanted to leave with that human was to get rid of the phoenix clan. However, it had never expected that such a good place would be occupied by the phoenix tribe. Sob. At this moment, the old sycamore tree was somewhat regretful. It deeply felt that it had overreached itself. They did not welcome the phoenix tribe. At the thought of this, the old sycamore tree said fiercely, "Get down from my brother, we don't welcome you. Little tree, have you forgotten who I am? Why are you treating me so badly?" Sob. I'll be sad if you do this. To think that I've been thinking about you all this time. The fiery red figure, Fengzhan, heard the old sycamore tree's words and started to sob. At this time, the sycamore tree that it landed on actually reprimanded the old sycamore tree. "Brother Jiujio, don't be rude. That old sycamore tree did not have a name, and it was ranked 99th. All the trees that were older than it called it little brother Jiujio." Now, the 99th ranked old sycamore tree felt aggrieved when it saw that it had been called 87th brother. You actually did it for a phoenix. I'm so sad. An old face with tears in its eyes appeared on the trunk of the 99 old sycamore tree. It looked really pitiful. "Little 9, do you really not recognize it?" Parasol tree number 87 said helplessly. "Thanks it? Should I recognize it?" Parasol tree number 99 blinked its eyes and asked in confusion. "Ehe. Little 9th, am Fengzhan." Fengzhan finally revealed the answer with a smile. Fengzhan? Prince Feng, Prince Feng's personal guard? The name Parasol tree number 99 gave it a sudden inspiration, and some of its deep memories were awakened. However, it still couldn't believe that the phoenix in front of it was Fengzhan. Wasn't it said that Fengzhan and the other guards of the Phoenix King had already died? Why was this man still alive and calling himself Fengzhan? Moreover, it believed that Brother 87 would never recognize the wrong phoenix, because there was a special way to identify the phoenix between the parasol tree and the phoenix. Even if the other party was reborn from the fire, they would still recognize it. Could this fire phoenix really be Fengzhan? You're Fengzhan. Parasol tree number 99 could not help but ask. Yes, I'm sure of it. Fengzhan nodded. But I heard that you've already died. Tree number 99 asked curiously. Although it was happy to see Fengzhan, it still wanted to know more. No, I didn't. I was only sealed in the lower realm. It was this little girl, the human woman who moved you here, who saved us. Otherwise, we would really have been in danger of dying. Fengzhan sighed with emotion. Isn't that human god Lord Mist's aid? Parasol tree number 99 was puzzled again. The people of Raimai City wouldn't help Fengzhan and the others, would they? Ehe. Who said that? She's Master Yes disciple, and she's against Rime. So, it's wise for you to choose to follow her. Fengzhan complimented. Master Yes disciple? No wonder when I saw her, I felt close to her and felt that even if she was from Raimais, I should still follow her. My intuition was right. Parasol tree number 99 said with a slightly proud tone. In fact, the parasol trees in the Phoenix territory had been deeply disappointed in the Phoenix tribe ever since their mother tree had withered. They had been looking for an opportunity to leave this place and start a new life. However, apart from the Phoenix tribe and its affiliated clans, very few other clans could enter the Phoenix territory. Even if there were other clans, no one had the courage to abduct them. Therefore, they had been waiting for many years. Even though they had refused to cultivate with the Phoenix tribe, they had not been able to increase their own strength. For the sake of their mother tree, they were willing to do anything that would result in mutual destruction. Their actions were no different from waiting for death. However, for the pride of the parasol tree tribe, and to avenge their mother tree, they would rather there be no more parasol trees in the world than to see those annoying phoenixes. However, they could not bear to do so. The little parasol trees and the little phoenixes were innocent, and they should not bear the grudges between the Phoenix tribe and the Parasol Tree tribe. Hence, the old parasol trees did not stop the little parasol trees and the little phoenixes from cultivating together. This was also the main reason why the little parasol trees could not accept the little phoenixes. After waiting for a long time with no hope, the parasol trees thought that they could only wait for death. Lung Ruoxua, this human, appeared out of nowhere and had the intention of bringing them away. Even though they lived in the parasol tree forest, some of the more powerful parasol trees had been observing everything within the Phoenix clan with their divine senses. Naturally, they were aware of what Lung Ruoxua had done to the current Phoenix king. Upon seeing Lung Ruoxua, this audacious human, the sycamore trees were instantly excited. Wasn't this a chance to take them away? The Phoenix king had also made an oath, so there was even less reason to stop them, right? Chapter 2404. Parasol Tree Mother Tree 2. Even though they were still not satisfied with Lung Ruoxua's status, they could not care less now. As long as they could leave the Phoenix clan, it was fine. More importantly, many parasol trees had expressed that they felt a sense of familiarity when they saw Lung Ruoxua. In this way, Lung Ruoxua's status was not that important anymore. Now, they had learned from Fengzhan that Lung Ruoxua was the disciple of the imperial concubine. The parasol trees were even more excited. The place they were living in now was even more suitable for them than the Phoenix territory. Sob. They had no other requests. After that, the parasol trees heard about Lung Ruoxua's great achievements from Fengzhan. They were even more satisfied with her. Then they saw Fengzhan. The bloodline of the Phoenix King in Fengzhan's body made the old parasol trees so excited that they were speechless. Feeling the chaos in the bracelet, Lung Ruoxua smiled. Then she stretched out her chubby little hand and patted Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, waking them up. When the two of them woke up in a daze, they were still at a loss. However, when they saw the empty space in front of them, their expressions changed drastically. Lord Lianwu, where are those parasol trees? Feng Luo stammered as he asked. Weren't those parasol trees willing to leave with Lord Lianwu? How did they all disappear? This was a big deal. I dug it up and kept it. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo were silent. It looked like they had been unconscious for a long time, right? Otherwise, how could Lord Lianwu have dug out all those trees by himself? However, this Lord Lianwu was really nimble. He managed to do everything by himself. Thinking of this, the two of them looked at Lung Ruoxua with deep admiration. Glancing at their expressions, Lung Ruoxua smiled faintly and said, In the future, you won't be lacking sycamore trees for cultivation. Yes. The two of them nodded in excitement. At this moment, she heard Lung Ruoxua say with a smug look, That's why I said that there's meat to eat if you follow me. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo were silent for a while. Then the two of them said in unison, In the future we will definitely follow the footsteps of Lord Lianwu. Good girl. Let's continue forward. I heard that there are even older parasol trees inside. Lung Ruoxua said with a calm smile. One must know that the old sycamore tree in the bracelet had been urging her for a long time. So much so that calluses were about to form in her ears. After Feng Xiao and Feng Luo heard what Lung Ruoxua had to say, they were invigorated. They no longer lacked parasol trees, so they were more confident in following Lung Ruoxua. After that, the three of them continued to walk deeper into the parasol tree forest. Before they left, the kind Feng Luo could not help but ask Lung Ruoxua softly, Lord Lianwu, are we not going to care about him? That him, Feng Luo was naturally referring to his own clansman, the unlucky one who had been appointed by the Phoenix King to lead the way. Who cares? What if he messaged the Phoenix King again? Let alone taking these parasol trees away, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to leave the Phoenix territory safely. Lung Ruoxua replied matter-of-factly. Although the Phoenix King had made an oath, it would be a wonder if the Phoenix King would keep it. Lung Ruoxua did not believe that lecherous old woman's words at all. Thanks. Just like that, under Lung Ruoxua's cajoling, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo abandoned their own clansmen and followed Lung Ruoxua to cajole other parasol trees. In reality, what they did not know was that Lung Ruoxua did not need to be abducted at this moment. who asked these parasol trees to have the intention to leave long ago. They just did not find a suitable opportunity. And now, with the appearance of Lung Ruoxue, a suitable candidate, the parasol trees in the parasol tree forest seemed to have seen a ray of light. Naturally, they were all elated and expressed that they wanted to leave with her. As such, every time the three of them arrived at a parasol tree forest, Lung Ruoxue did not need to waste her breath. Many of the parasol trees expressed that they would ask Lung Ruoxue to take them away. This scene made Feng Xiu and Feng Luo's jaws drop. This kind of thing was really too unbelievable for the two phoenixes who could still be considered innocent. The two of them were incomparably shocked. The way they looked at Lung Ruoxue could no longer be expressed with admiration. It should be shock. The parasol trees looked at them with disdain. There was even a parasol tree that said to Lung Ruoxue, "Little girl, the phoenix kind now." It was completely different from the past. Look at these two little guys. They were really too restless. If this is the future of the phoenix kind, then I really don't think so highly of the phoenix kind. These words made Feng Xiu and Feng Luo's faces flush red, and they were extremely embarrassed. They even lowered their heads in shame and wished they could find a hole to hide in. Sob. The two of them were being despised by the parasol trees. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she looked at the two of them. She then turned to the parasol tree that had expressed its opinion and said, "They still lack training. So, we shouldn't be too harsh on them." That makes sense. Then I'll forgive the two of them for making a fuss." The Wutong tree said very kindly. Hearing this, Feng Xiu and Feng Luo felt even more ashamed. They were so bad that when the parasol tree talked about them, it had an expression of disappointment. This was too terrifying. This didn't seem to be a big deal. When the two of them saw the entire patch of parasol trees in front of them, they were dumbfounded and so shocked that they lost the ability to speak. Where did he go? The parasol trees. Where did all the parasol trees go? Lung Ruoxue had no intention of explaining when she saw the two phoenixes' wide-open, dazed eyes. Instead, she said to the two phoenixes who were too shocked, "Let's continue forward." Hearing the cheers that came from the bangle, Lung Ruoxue brought Feng Xiu and Feng Luo to collect the parasol trees one after another. Feng Xiu and Feng Luo's mental endurance had also changed from their initial disbelief and shock to extreme calmness. In the end, the two of them had become completely numb. Just as Lung Ruoxue kept another piece of parasol tree in her bracelet, she was about to continue on her way when she was stopped by Feng Xiu. Lung Ruoxue looked at Feng Xiu in confusion. "We can't go in," Feng Xiu quickly explained. "Why?" Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes in confusion. One must know that the further they went, the higher the level of the parasol trees. It was obviously impossible for her to let go of the few biggest parasol trees not far away. That's the graveyard of the parasol tree. No phoenix is allowed to set foot there. There's even a restrictive spell set up outside, so there's no way we can get in. Feng Xiu said. Like this. Lung Ruoxue was a little worried after hearing Feng Xiu's words. She already knew that these old sycamore trees were nostalgic. The reason why they didn't want to deal with the current Feng clan was mostly because of their relationship with the former Phoenix King. So, she didn't know if sending Feng Zhan out as a lobbyist would work. What if these old sycamore trees didn't even give Feng Zhan face? What would she do then? Chapter 2405. Parasol Tree Mother Tree 3. At this moment, Feng Zhan's voice rang in Lung Ruoxue's heart. "Little girl, I can't do anything about these old trees. They are the closest descendants of the mother parasol tree, and they only listen to the mother parasol tree. Even our king can't do anything to them, so you can only find a way to get close to them yourself. Work hard. These trees were very important, especially the mother parasol tree." "Isn't the mother parasol tree already?" Lung Ruoxue asked carefully. In front of the old parasol trees, she was too embarrassed to directly say that their mother tree had already withered. "Little girl, the old sycamore trees told me that the mother sycamore tree should still be alive, but it's in a deep sleep. They don't know how to wake it up, so I can only ask you to find a way to see it. But if you want to see it, the most important thing is to convince the few sycamore trees that are protecting it. They're not as easy to talk to as the other parasol trees." Fengzhan reminded him. Oh, then I'll think of a way to try. Leng Ruoxue replied. She then cut off the connection with Fengzhan and turned to Feng Xiu and Feng Luo. Let's go over there and take a look. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had made up her mind, Feng Xiu and Feng Luo had no choice but to follow her. Leng Ruoxue was stunned when she arrived in front of the parasol trees. The parasol trees in front of her were simply too big. She estimated that they would require at least 100 people to encircle them. These parasol trees formed a ring with their luxuriant branches intertwining with each other, blocking everyone's vision. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue took 2 steps forward to test the waters. However, she realized that a thin light screen was blocking her path. This should be the restriction that the parasol trees had set up, right? Looking at the restriction, Leng Ruoxue's head started to hurt. She was here to ask for amnesty, so it was impossible for her to force her way in. What if these parasol trees were angered and treated her as an enemy? Wouldn't that be self-defeating? Furthermore, she could tell that these parasol trees were not weak. At the very least, he had the cultivation of a deity emperor. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue could only say, "Is anyone there? I have something to discuss with you." After she finished speaking, no one paid any attention to Leng Ruoxue. How detestable. These tree frames were really big. Leng Ruoxue thought to herself and continued to ask, "Are there any survivors? Give me a reaction. Don't tell me all these trees are dead." Seeing that there was still no response from the tree, Leng Ruoxue mumbled to herself. Hearing this, Feng Xiu and Feng Luo, who were beside Leng Ruoxue, couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off their foreheads. They thought to themselves, even Lord Wu is too amazing. Was he cursing the parasol trees? However, it was undeniable that the moment Leng Ruoxue finished her sentence, a parasol tree could not help but reply, "You bastard! Who died? We're clearly alive and well. Even if the entire phoenix kind is wiped out, we won't die. At most, his cultivation would be slower." A certain Wutong tree could not help but think to himself. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue was happy. However, Feng Xiu and Feng Luo were embarrassed again. How much did these parasol trees hate the phoenix tribe? He actually cursed them all to die. He was really too vicious. It was unknown if the parasol trees had sensed Feng Xiu and Feng Luo's thoughts, but the hot-tempered parasol tree continued. "So what if I curse you? I can't wait for you all to die. Fucking bitch Feng Tong, so many phoenixes have died. Why don't you die?" Ugh. Feng Xiu and Feng Luo did not expect the parasol tree to be so excited. For a moment, they did not know how to react. On the other hand, Leng Ruoxue was more curious and asked, "Who's Feng Tong?" "It's that slut, the Phoenix King. Of course, it's the current Phoenix King." The sycamore tree explained. Then, a young face appeared on the tree trunk. It sized Leng Ruoxue up and said, "Human, you have the aura of the Phoenix clan on you, as well as the cheap Phoenix's aura. Tell me, what is your relationship?" Leng Ruoxue could sense a hint of hostility from the parasol tree's tone. Hence, she had no doubt that if she were to say that she was friends with the current Phoenix King, she might be immediately attacked by this parasol tree. This parasol tree that was communicating with her was also the most violent and nationalistic youth she had ever seen. "I have nothing to do with that bitch Feng you're talking about, and we're not friends," Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. "Then how did you get into the Feng clan? Human, are you lying to me?" A certain parasol tree had a "don't take me for a fool" expression, as it looked at Leng Ruoxue unhappily. "I'm not lying to you. I was able to enter the Feng clan because I have Wu Xiao's token," Leng Ruoxue said honestly. "So you're that bitch's man. No wonder." A certain parasol tree was suddenly enlightened. However, it immediately shook its head and said, "Something's wrong. Something's not right. The aura on your body is so mixed that I can't tell what your background is." A certain parasol tree was vexed. A big question mark appeared on the young face on the trunk. Its eyes were also filled with endless confusion. Thanks, Leng Ruoxue saw that this parasol tree liked talking to itself so much and could only helplessly reply, "My identity is quite complicated, so I would like to meet your mother parasol tree. I have something to talk to it about." The mother parasol tree is no longer here. A certain parasol tree said with a vigilant look. Really? Lung Ruoxua asked doubtfully. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you about this? Don't you notice that the color of our parasol trees has become dull? That's because we didn't have the mother parasol tree. A certain parasol tree said matter-of-factly. Oh really? However, I thought that you've become so dull because you haven't cultivated with the Phoenix clan for a long time. What do you think? Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. This has something to do with it. However, it's mostly because of the withering of the mother tree. That's why we're in this state. A certain parasol tree quibbled. Since you insist on thinking this way, then I have nothing to say. I still have the same words. I want to see your mother parasol tree. Lung Ruoxua said stubbornly. Human, don't you understand what I am saying? I told you the mother tree is gone. A certain parasol tree said somewhat frantically. I understand. That's why I want to see the mother parasol tree. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. You. A certain parasol tree was so angry that its branches were trembling. At this moment, Lung Ruoxua could clearly feel the space around her distorting. Following that, she was brought into an unfamiliar place. Seeing how calm Tsang was in her arms, Lung Ruoxua instantly knew that there should be no danger here. However, it seemed that she was the only one who had been sent here because Feng Xiu and Feng Luo were not here. But where was this place? Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes scanned the scenery in front of her. This should be a private palace. The interior was decorated with red as the main color and gold as the secondary color. The decorations were simple and practical. It was low-key yet tasteful. It was the so-called low-key luxury. Please take a seat. A faint and gentle female voice entered Lung Ruoxia's ears. Lung Ruoxua expressed her gratitude and sat down on an empty chair. Following that, a lady in red appeared in front of Lung Ruoxua and sat down. The lady in red looked to be in her 30s. She was extremely beautiful and had a noble and elegant temperament. She gave off a gentle feeling. Furthermore, the dense fire attribute spiritual qi on her body made Lung Ruoxua immediately guess her identity. You're the mother parasol tree? Lung Ruoxua asked. It is. The lady in red laughed indifferently. She was not surprised that Lung Ruoxua had guessed her identity. I heard. Lung Ruoxua only said 2 words and did not continue. However, she believed that this woman would understand her meaning. As expected, after the lady in red heard Lung Ruoxia's words, she smiled and explained. I'm still alive, but I've spent most of my time in a deep sleep. That's why all the members of the Feng clan, including Feng Tong, thought that I'd already withered and died. This can't be helped because I have to reduce the use of spiritual energy, otherwise Wu will be in danger. The lady in red's words became more and more sorrowful as she spoke. Her eyes were also slightly moist. When Lung Ruoxua saw this, she was too embarrassed to continue asking who Wu was. However, she guessed that Wu should be the person closest to the mother parasol tree. Wu Zheng is the Phoenix King. Of course he is the previous one. Seeing Lung Ruoxia's confusion, the red-robed lady took the initiative to explain. Lung Ruoxua suddenly understood. It seemed like this lady in red had a very deep relationship with the previous Phoenix King, to the extent that she was not willing to pay attention to the current Phoenix King. She would rather choose to sleep and the tree would wither. Lung Ruoxua could not help but have a good impression of the parasol tree's affectionate and righteous behavior. After some thought, Lung Ruoxua said directly, Senior Parasol Tree, I have something to discuss with you. You don't need to say anything. I already know what you're going to say, but I can't leave. The red-robed lady rejected without a second thought. Even though she was always in a deep sleep and did not care about worldly matters, the incident that happened in the parasol tree forest could not be hidden from her. Hence, she was clear about Lung Ruoxia's intentions for coming. Although all the parasol trees in the parasol tree forest were her descendants, children would always have their own ideas when they grew up. Therefore, she would not hinder their own development. Since those parasol trees were willing to leave with the little girl in front of her, she would naturally not stop them. She also did not wish for her children to spend their entire lives in the parasol tree forest. She had no other choice but to stay here. Chapter 2406. My dear, you're finally back one. Is it for that Wu you speak of? Lung Ruoxue made a guess after hearing the Mother Parasol Tree's words. Yes. Wu needs the support of my spiritual energy, or else she will die. The red-robed woman nodded. Since you knew she would die, why didn't you think of saving her? Lung Ruoxue pretended to be curious. She knew that the Wu, that the Mother Parasol Tree was referring to was Fengzhan's mother. However, the Phoenix King had always been sealed away. Rescuing the previous Phoenix King was also part of her plan. However, she did not have the ability to do so in the past. Now she was willing to give it a try. He just did not know what the Mother Parasol Tree was thinking. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the lady in red laughed desolately and said, "It's not that easy to save Wu. She was sealed by that bitch, Wu Cheng. Only Wu Qing can release her. However, how could Wu Cheng release a tiger back to the mountain? If I say that I will think of a way to save the sealed phoenix race, dragon race and white tiger race, are you willing to cooperate with me?" Lung Ruoxue gave it some thought and replied honestly. Upon hearing this, the lady in red could not help but widen her beautiful eyes. Her beautiful face was filled with shock. She looked at Lung Ruoxue and asked hesitantly, What did you just say? You want to save her? Little girl, do you know how hard it is to save Wu? All these years, I can't think of a way to save her except to support her spiritual energy. I've said it before, she was personally sealed by Fog. Unless Fog Ripples is willing to let her out, she can only be sealed for life. It's impossible for Wu Chen to let her out. However, I'm willing to try. Lung Ruoxue said directly. Little girl, is what you said true? The red-robed lady was still in disbelief as she asked for confirmation. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head. Her beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the red-robed lady, waiting for her to make her choice. Aren't you Fog City's advisor? Why are you helping us? Even though the red-robed lady had received Lung Ruoxue's affirmation, she was still filled with doubts. Who said I'm from Rime Ice? Am her enemy? We're mortal enemies. Lung Ruoxue saw that things seemed to be working out, so she spoke the truth. As expected, after hearing this, the red-robed lady was deeply confused. I'm Lung Ruoxue, the disciple of the previous divine master, Sir Yu. Seeing that the lady in red was still in a daze, Lung Ruoxue could only continue. Master, yes, disciple? You really are? The lady in red continued to be shocked. This news was really beyond her expectations. I'm not lying. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then why do you have Wu Qing's token? The red-robed woman still had many doubts. Song gave it to me. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the little white cat in her arms. In order to match Lung Ruoxue's words, Song even specially waved his snow-white little claws and said, "And I gave it to Niu. Little tree, you must believe in her. Lord Song? Your Lord Song?" Looking at the little white cat in Lung Ruoxue's arms, the red-robed lady was petrified once again. Thanks, as far as she knew, Lord Song had always appeared in the form of a Totoro, but now he had actually turned into a cat. The red-robed woman was a little confused, but as one of the most ancient plants in the God realm, she was very familiar with Lord Song's voice, so she only had to listen for a moment to know that this little white cat was undoubtedly Lord Song. Little tree, Niu is my master now, you have to listen to her. Seeing the red-clothed woman's dumbfounded look, Song said. This time, the red-clothed woman's petrified state became even worse. Lord Song's master? What was going on? The woman in red was even more confused. Lord Song actually had a master. It was this little girl in front of him? It was simply too unbelievable. The lady in red was stunned for a long time, before she slowly regained her senses. Her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at Song, while her eyes were filled with surprise when she looked at Lung Ruoxue. To be able to make Lord Song recognize her as a master, this little human girl must have something different. That's right, she just said that she was master, yes, disciple. Now that Lady Song had confirmed it, the lady in red believed that Lung Ruoxue's identity was unquestionable. At the thought of this, the Mother Parasol Tree bowed to Lung Ruoxue and said, Wu Tong is willing to obey Lady Ruoxue's words. Senior Wu Tong, you don't have to be so polite. You can just call me Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxua said with a faint smile. She didn't expect the mother parasol tree to be called a parasol tree. It was really convenient. However, at least this mother tree had a name, unlike the other parasol trees, which were addressed by code names. Okay, then I'll call you Ruoxua from now on, Wu Tong said with a smile. Actually, she was still a little conflicted in her heart because Lung Ruoxua was Lady Tsang's master. She was afraid that she would make Lady Tsang unhappy if she called her by her name. However, seeing that Lady Tsang did not object, she called her that in her heart. Actually, she was thinking too much. Tsang didn't care what others called Lung Ruoxua, because it was well aware that its status in the god world was too high and its seniority was too high. Moreover, its own Nyo was too young, so how to address her was really a problem. Hence, after discussing with Lung Ruoxua, the two of them decided to go their own way and not interfere with each other's matters. However, not many people knew about this situation. After Lung Ruoxua had a simple conversation with the mother parasol tree about her identity, she went straight to the point. Senior Wu Tong, saving the previous Phoenix King was part of my plan. However, because my strength was not high, this plan could not be carried out. But now, I really want to give it a try and I hope that Senior can support me. Ruoxua, how do you want me to support you? To tell you the truth, although I have the cultivation of a hierarch, my strength is not high among hierarch experts. In addition, I have been providing spiritual qi to Wu for so many years, so I am only a hierarch in name. I don't know how I can help you, but you can tell me. As long as it is within my means, I will do my best. The mother parasol tree said sincerely. I'll still say the same thing, as long as Senior leaves with me. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. Ruoxua, it's not that I don't want to leave, but I need to provide spiritual energy to Wu. She can't live without me. Otherwise she will die. The mother parasol tree felt a little troubled after hearing Lung Ruoxua's words. Senior, I wonder how long you can last in your current condition? If I'm not wrong, the reason why your tree body withered was not entirely because of your deep sleep, but because you lost too much spiritual qi, right? Lung Ruoxua said. Lung Ruoxua did not ask about the previous Phoenix King's condition. Instead, she reminded the mother parasol tree, because she knew that the mother parasol tree's body was in a terrible state. If this continued, its life would come to an end. When the parasol tree mother heard Lung Ruoxua's words, she only sighed heavily. She knew that she could not hide it from this little girl, so she replied honestly, I can still hold on for another 100 years. Chapter 2407. My dear, you're finally back too. 100 years later, she would not be able to help Wu. What about the Phoenix King? Lung Ruoxua probed. She could tell that the mother parasol tree had a very deep relationship with the previous Phoenix King. Otherwise, it would not have chosen to sacrifice itself in such a way. She's severely injured. Without my spiritual qi, she can only live for another 10 years at most. The mother parasol tree said sadly. Such a fact made her heart ache. What if? And I'm saying what if, within 10 years, I find a way to save her? Lung Ruoxua asked again. If she can be saved within 10 years, she still has a chance to live. Otherwise, the only path for her is death, and I will also die in 100 years. The mother parasol tree explained. Senior, although I can't guarantee that I will be able to save the Phoenix King within 10 years, I promise that I will try my best. And your current situation is also very bad. I think you should first ensure your own survival so that you can better help the Phoenix King. Otherwise, not only will you not be able to save yourself, you won't be able to help her. Lung Ruoxua advised him with a heavy heart. How can I not know, but the mother parasol tree was in a dilemma. Senior, I can help you. Lung Ruoxua said with certainty. Little girl. The mother parasol tree hesitated. Just as it opened its mouth to say a few words, it was interrupted by Lung Ruoxua again. Senior, listen to me first. I know that the Phoenix King needs spiritual qi, but I think that you need a lot more spiritual qi than she does now. Without your spiritual qi, the Phoenix King will live for another 10 years. So, I think that as long as you can obtain a lot of spiritual qi in the next 10 years, then, whether it is you or the Phoenix King, the chances of survival will be greatly improved. What do you think? Lung Ruoxue asked. That's true, but where can we get a large amount of spiritual energy? The mother parasol tree's expression became even more conflicted. However, the next second, she realized that she had been moved to another place. Then she was petrified again. Where was this? How could there be such dense spiritual energy? The mother parasol tree had lived in the divine realm for tens of thousands of years, but she had never known that there was such a place in the divine realm. This place. She was excited. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue's voice rang in the ears of the parasol tree. Senior, are you satisfied with this place? I'm satisfied. He was satisfied. Ruoxue, where is this place? The mother parasol tree, who had finally regained her senses, was like Granny Lu who had entered a grand view garden. Her eyes could not see anything at all, and the rich spiritual energy here made her even more ecstatic. This is my space. Since Senior is very satisfied with this place, then Senior can stay here and cultivate for the time being. Also, there should be many old friends you know here. Lung Ruoxue said with a mysterious look. What? The mother parasol tree was a little confused. What did this girl mean? Lady Wu Tong. At this moment, another voice rang out in the ears of the mother parasol tree. This voice seemed to be somewhat familiar. As soon as she turned around, the mother parasol tree saw a huge fire phoenix standing not far away from her with tears in its eyes. It was looking at her with excitement. Thanks, your Fengzhan. The mother parasol tree only needed a moment to recognize who Fengzhan was. Seeing that the mother tree had recognized him, Fengzhan nodded his head excitedly. Little Fengzhan, I can't believe you're still alive. I thought. The mother parasol tree was also moved to tears. However, when she called him Little Fengzhan, Fengzhan's excitement faded a lot. He said helplessly, Lady Wu Tong, I'm not young anymore. Sop. Why did the mother parasol tree still call it Little Fengzhan after so many years? Even though it sounded rather friendly. However, it felt weird to be called Little Fengzhan when it was already an old phoenix. Ah, in my eyes, you're just a little guy. Hearing Fengzhan's complaint, the mother parasol tree laughed happily, and her sorrow was alleviated a lot. Back then, when she and Wu had nothing to do, they would always play with these little guys. Now that she thought about it, it felt like it was just yesterday, but now things had changed a long time ago. Lady Wu Tong still likes to bully people. Fengzhan pouted his lips arrogantly, and said in a seemingly dissatisfied tone. Lung Ruoxue was truly in a state of confusion when she saw this. Oh my god! Did she see wrongly? Was it Fengzhan who had that expression? Lung Ruoxue felt that she couldn't quite accept this terrifying scene. She would rather see Fengzhan scolding those naughty little phoenixes every day with a serious face than see it acting coquettishly. It was just too. However, at this moment, the excited Fengzhan and the mother parasol tree had no time to care about Lung Ruoxue's wild thoughts. The two of them, who had not seen each other for a long time, immediately abandoned Lung Ruoxue and ran off to the side to chat. Ugh. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue was speechless. She was actually being ignored. With a depressed heart, Lung Ruoxue left the bangle and went outside to take a look. Song Yi was looking at the sky at a 45-degree angle, his face red with the words I've been abandoned again. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could not help but laugh. Hearing the laughter, Song turned his head and pounced into Lung Ruoxue's arms when he saw her. He acted coquettishly and rubbed against her nonstop. Then the human and cat wandered around the home of the parasol tree self-sufficient. After an unknown period of time, the voice of the mother parasol tree finally sounded from the bottom of Lung Ruoxue's heart. Lung Ruoxue's mind shifted, and the mother parasol tree was removed from the bracelet. When the lady in red came out, she was carrying an extremely unwilling little phoenix in her arms. The little phoenix was Fengzhan. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, he immediately howled at her with tears in his eyes. Master, save me. This parasol tree was too terrifying. Even Fengzhan, who had never received a mother's love since he was young, couldn't stand that woman's overflowing motherly love. This woman, from the moment she saw it, she had been holding it with an excited look on her face and refused to let go. No matter how Fengzhan struggled with all his strength, he couldn't get it. And now, It was being carried out by this woman again. Feng Zhan deeply felt that his future days would not be too good. Hence at this moment, the moment it saw Lung Ruoxue, it immediately asked for help. However, Lung Ruoxue only gave it a helpless look and ignored it. Sob. Tears quickly gathered in Feng Zhan's eyes, and more of them gathered. The expression on his face also became more and more resentful. When the mother parasol tree saw this, it thought that Feng Zhan was thinking about the mother it had never met before. It consoled Feng Zhan with a pained expression. Little Zhan, don't cry. Auntie and Ruoxue will definitely think of a way to save your royal mother. Although Feng Zhan was touched by her words, it also left him speechless. Of course, he believed that his master would find a way to save the queen, but could she not hold him like a child? After all, it was still a Phoenix King when it was in High Wind Continent. Now that it was being held like a baby, how much damage was it to its dignity as the Phoenix King? Chapter 2408. My dear, you're finally back 3? Feng Zhan felt like he was going crazy. However, its innate sense of closeness to the parasol tree prevented it from saying anything that would make the excited mother parasol tree sad. Sob. Master isn't helping me, what should I do? It was only then that he remembered Lung Ruoxue's parasol tree mother. He turned to Lung Ruoxue with an embarrassed look and said, Ruoxue, I'm sorry. I've embarrassed myself. It's all right, I can understand Senior's feelings. Lung Ruoxue glanced at Feng Zhan sympathetically, still not caring about the bitter and conflicted little phoenix. On the contrary, she felt that Feng Zhan's current appearance was quite loving. From this, one could see how sad Beastie was to have an unscrupulous master. However, Feng Zhan, who was very disappointed in his master's lack of help, had clearly given up on himself. He lowered his little head and fiddled with his little claws without saying a word. His heart was already full of tears. Ruoxue, I have to thank you for everything you've done for the Phoenix clan. The mother parasol tree continued. That's what I should do. The Phoenix clan has recognized me as their master. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. However, she felt a little depressed in her heart because the mother parasol tree was being polite again, and she was really not used to such politeness. Following that, Lung Ruoxue took the initiative to change the topic. Senior, are you willing to leave with me now? If she was still unwilling, Lung Ruoxue felt that she was truly at her wit's end. Of course. I've already decided to move all the sycamore trees in the Phoenix territory into your space, Ruoxue. The mother parasol tree laughed evilly. In fact, more than half of the parasol trees had already entered the forest. The only ones who had not yet entered were the young ones at the outer perimeter of the forest. Now that the mother tree had given the order, the younger ones could forget about running away. Upon hearing this, Lung Ruoxue was relieved and happy. He wondered if the Phoenix clan could still be considered as the Phoenix clan in name without the Phoenix tree. What would their cultivation be like in the future? Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. She then thought of another question and asked directly, Senior, what about your tree? Was there any possibility of survival? Or are you going to stay here and not care? Take my tree body as well. Although the chance of survival is very slim, I'd rather use the wood as firewood and burn it than leave it to the Phoenix clan. The Phoenix kind won't even be able to get a single leaf of the Phoenix tree. The mother parasol tree's aura shook as it spoke fiercely. Ugh. He didn't expect the mother parasol tree to be like him, who didn't like to waste. Lung Ruoxue could not help but chuckle to herself after hearing the mother parasol tree's words. He wondered what the current Phoenix King's expression would be when she found out that he had stolen all the parasol trees, not even leaving a branch for them. Lung Ruoxue was really looking forward to seeing the Phoenix King's reaction. Following that, with the cooperation of the mother parasol tree, Lung Ruoxue had a change of mind. She first kept the surrounding parasol trees into her bracelet, before the mother parasol tree brought her away from the place. At this moment, Feng Xiu and Feng Luo, who were extremely anxious because of Lung Ruoxue's sudden disappearance, were stunned when they saw that Lung Ruoxue had returned. After a long while, the two of them rubbed their eyes hard before they could confirm that Lung Ruoxue had really returned. Lord Lianwu, where did you go? You've made us so worried. The little boy, Feng Luo, looked at Lung Ruoxue worriedly. In his fiery red phoenix eyes, tears were quickly gathering. Haha. I was invited by the mother parasol tree to be a guest. Lung Ruoxue patted the cute little boy's head and smiled. It seemed like this little fellow was really worried about her. Look at him, he was about to cry. However, Fengxiu was also looking at her with a nervous expression. This made Lung Ruoxue very satisfied with the performance of these two phoenixes. Parasol tree, mother tree? Hearing these words, Feng Luo immediately froze. Fengxiu also looked at Lung Ruoxue with excitement and asked anxiously, Lord Lianwu, is the mother parasol tree still alive? What's wrong? Do you really wish that I'm no longer here? When she heard this, the mother parasol tree, who had been acting as an invisible person by Lung Ruoxue's side, spoke up coldly. Fengxiu didn't know how to react when he heard the unfamiliar woman's voice. Moreover, from the voice it seemed to be the mother parasol tree. This possibility also made Fengxiu nervous and at a loss. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue kindly helped Fengxiu out of his predicament. Senior, these two phoenixes are my people now, so don't scare them. Thanks, alright. For Ruoxue's sake, I'll reluctantly accept them. The mother parasol tree said. In fact, the reason why she didn't like Fengxiu was because the aura of the phoenix tree on Fengxiu was too strong, which made her feel disgusted. However, since Fengxiu had already forsaken the darkness for the light, she naturally had to give him a chance. With that thought, the mother parasol tree no longer made things difficult for Fengxiu. When Fengxiu saw this, he could not help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead, and gave Lung Ruoxue a grateful look. After that, Fengxiu saw with his own eyes that the few thickest parasol trees in front of him had disappeared. The withered body of the mother parasol tree appeared in front of him. In the next second, the huge body of the mother parasol tree disappeared as well. This scene had caused quite a stir for Fengxiu. However, he, who had always been observant, knew that there were some things that should not be asked. And looking at the current situation, Lord Lianwu should have succeeded in abducting the mother parasol tree. In an instant, Fengxiu's admiration for Lung Ruoxue reached its peak. However, at this moment, he was still not aware that there were no more parasol trees in the parasol tree forest. Otherwise, his feelings for Lung Ruoxue would not be just admiration. Not long after, Feng Luo regained his senses and peeked at the mother parasol tree with a curious expression. However, he did not dare to ask anything. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but laugh in her heart. Following that, she sent a voice transmission to Azure, and asked him to create an illusion, so that the moment they left the parasol tree forest, they would be hunted down by the Phoenix tribe. Song nodded. After settling everything, he told Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue informed the mother parasol tree, and sent him back into the bracelet. Then, she left the parasol tree forest with the two silly phoenixes who were in a daze. On the way back, Fengxiu and Feng Luo were very curious about the parasol trees that had appeared in front of them. If they hadn't lost their memories, all the parasol trees here should have been gone. What were these in front of them? However, before the two of them could ask, Lung Ruoxue took the initiative to answer. Those are all fake. When you see the Phoenix King later, don't let it slip, understand? Yes. The two of them nodded in a daze, their hearts drenched in cold sweat. Fake. It was actually fake. The two of them were instantly speechless. It seemed that Lord Lianwu was even more powerful than they had known. This was what the two of them were thinking at the moment. They went back to the Phoenix King Palace. The Peacock King and his clansmen, who were left outside the Phoenix King Palace, treated Lung Ruoxue as if she was their family member. Sob. When their master was not around, they had been harassed by the Phoenix clan many times. The Peacock King in particular had delivered himself to the Phoenix King's door to be teased. However, this was the Phoenix clan. The parasol tree forest didn't allow them to enter, so they could only wait outside. Fortunately, their master returned quickly. Otherwise, they didn't know if they would be able to keep the Peacock King. Hence, the moment the Peacock King saw Lung Ruoxue, he shouted, "My dear, you're finally back." Then he pounced towards Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue stretched out her arm, and stopped the Peacock King from throwing himself into her arms. She happened to catch a glimpse of his disheveled appearance and furrowed her brows. Little peacock, what's wrong with you? Could it be that someone took advantage of you? My dear. Wu. It would have been better if Lung Ruoxua had not brought this up. The moment she did, the Peacock King immediately felt aggrieved. However, the intelligent Peacock King had not forgotten where he was. Hence, he still called out to Lung Ruoxua with caution and affection. My little darling, don't cry. Quickly tell me, what's wrong with you? Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua tried her best to play along. The way the two of them addressed each other was so intimate that it gave the peacocks goosebumps. This is too mushy, don't you think so? However, the peacocks didn't dare to laugh out loud. They could only lower their heads and hold back their laughter. However, their trembling bodies made Feng Xiu and Feng Luo feel sympathy for them. It looked like these peacocks were really frightened. AI. The Phoenix Clan. What should I do with you? As a member of the Phoenix Clan, Feng Xiu knew very well that the Phoenix King was not the only one who had designs on the Peacock Clan. Some other clansmen had also been coveting the Peacock Clan for a long time. However, he had never thought that these clansmen would be so bold to not even let off all of Lord Wu's beasts. If this angered Lord Wu, the consequences would be very serious. However, even if Lord Wu wasn't angry, the consequences seemed to be quite serious. Thinking of the fake parasol tree forest, Feng Xiu's thoughts were rather complicated. On the other hand, Feng Luo didn't think so much. Seeing that the Peacock King was only sobbing in grievance, Feng Luo couldn't help but urge anxiously. Peacock King, what grievances do you have? Lord Lianwu will definitely seek justice for you. This child quickly forgot that he was a member of the Phoenix Clan, and firmly sided with an outsider. After receiving Feng Luo's encouragement, the Peacock King raised his teary eyes and said in an aggrieved manner, the Phoenix King threatened me. She said that if I go with you wholeheartedly, the Peacock tribe will be the enemy of the Phoenix tribe in the future. She also told me to be careful not to fall into her hands in the future, or I will suffer a fate worse than death. Chapter 2409. Are you causing trouble? 1. After saying these words, the Peacock King looked at Lung Ruoxua with a sorrowful expression. The expression on his face seemed to be saying, please protect me, please help me. However, when the peacocks who knew the situation heard their king's words, not only did they break out in cold sweat, but all of them were also embarrassed. This was because their innocent and honest Peacock King had been corrupted. It was dyed black. Wu. Thinking back, the Peacock King was simply a piece of pure white paper. Of course, it was the same for them. However, after having a black sesame-filled master, they all became black as well. This was all thanks to Master's guidance. The peacocks felt sorry for him. In fact, the Peacock King's words were full of water. Although the Phoenix King had taken advantage of the fact that their master was not around to come out and tease their king, and had also warned their king, it was definitely not as serious as the Peacock King had said. The Phoenix King had only asked their Peacock King to think carefully whether he really wanted to leave the Phoenix territory and follow a woman who did not seem very reliable to wander the world. The Peacock King immediately rejected the Phoenix King and expressed that they were willing to follow their master. In fact, they had already acknowledged their master, so there was no use for the Phoenix King to say anything. More importantly, their king and some of the peacocks in the Peacock tribe had long wanted to leave the Phoenix tribe. This was the best opportunity for them to leave. They would be stupid to let it go. Therefore, the Phoenix King's provocation did not achieve the effect she had imagined. Instead, it caused the Peacock King to complain to her in front of his master. At that moment, some of the more kind-hearted peacocks began to sympathize with the Phoenix King. They wondered how their master would treat the Phoenix King. However, when they thought of their master's bad reputation, all the peacocks believed that the Phoenix King would definitely not be able to take advantage of their master. With this thought in mind, they suddenly became eager to try. Even some peacocks that weren't afraid of trouble immediately echoed the Peacock King and howled. My lord! The king is right, the Phoenix King has gone too far. Not only did she flirt with our king, but she also incited her clansmen to flirt with us. Wu, you have to help us. As soon as he said this, all the peacocks turned their gazes to an ordinary-looking peacock. The Peacock King gave the peacock a satisfied look that said he was a promising student. When the peacock saw this, it became even more proud. The Peacock King did not feel guilty at all for framing the Phoenix King. He had wanted to do this for a long time, but he did not have the courage to do so. Now that the Phoenix King's master had changed, he truly felt that there was no need for him to be afraid anymore. Therefore, he made use of the words of fox exploiting a tiger's might very well. With one peacock leading the way, the other peacocks quickly reacted and began to accuse the Phoenix clan of their atrocities one after another. "My lord, I've been touched by a phoenix. My lord, the Phoenix clan wants to take me by force. My lord, the Phoenix kind is threatening me." As she listened to all these complaints, cold sweat began to form on Lung Ruoxia's forehead. She didn't even need to ask to know that these peacocks who loved to see the world in chaos were deliberately causing trouble. Although she believed that a certain someone would definitely covet these peacocks if they were left here. But to bully her peacocks so brazenly, and even let these peacocks have the chance to complain to her, just how stupid was a certain someone. In an instant, Lung Ruoxia started to sympathize with a certain someone. But if you want to bully Beastie, you still have to look at the master. Thanks to dare bully her Beastie, no matter what the other party's intentions were, it was unforgivable. With this thought in mind, Lung Ruoxia immediately shouted at the top of her lungs, "Your Highness! The Phoenix King! Get the hell out here!" Lung Ruoxia had intentionally added some divine power into her voice. As such, the sound spread over a wide area. Almost all the phoenixes in the Phoenix clan had heard the sound and were attracted over. The elders of the Phoenix clan thought that someone had come to cause trouble, so they ran to the Phoenix King Palace in a panic. Wasn't this Lord Lianwu causing trouble? After a guard's big mouth spread the news of Lord Lianwu's identity, almost everyone in the Phoenix clan knew. As a result, many phoenixes respected her, or at least did not dare to offend her. After all, she was God Master Rhyme's favorite. But what was the situation now? What was this? The elders of the Feng clan looked at each other, but no one dared to step forward and ask. They could all feel Lord Wu's aura, which was about to explode. It was quite powerful. They were all a little nervous. Seeing that the number of phoenixes had increased, Lung Ruoxia deliberately put on an arrogant expression. She raised her chin and said with a look of disdain, "Tell the Phoenix King to come out. Do you think you'll be fine if you close your eyes?" The elders of the Feng clan all wiped their sweat. This Lord Lianwu was really too rude. He actually asked their Phoenix King to come out. The great Phoenix King, even if she wanted to come out, she couldn't use the role. "What? I can't order you around, can I? I'll give you 5 minutes to get the Phoenix King to come out and see me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Lung Ruoxia shouted again when she saw the elders of the Phoenix clan standing there in a daze. "Master! Master is so brave." It was too great. When the peacocks heard this, their eyes turned red and they looked at Lung Ruoxia with adoration. Their gazes of adoration that they did not even bother to hide made Lung Ruoxia feel a little embarrassed. However, who was Lung Ruoxia? Her mental endurance was still very strong, so she only felt awkward for a moment before she calmed down. However, it was a pity that the elders of the Phoenix clan still did not know what to do after hearing Lung Ruoxia's threat. The elders of the Feng clan were in a dilemma. At the same time, he couldn't help but resent the Phoenix King. Why did he have to provoke this fiend for no reason? This was especially so for the elders of the Phoenix clan. When they saw another blood-red token appear in Lung Ruoxia's hand, and she was even playing with it casually, the corners of their mouths could not help but twitch. Was this a threat? They already recognized the medallion and knew that it was personally bestowed by God Lord Fog Ripple. Thus, although they were a little angry at Lord Lianwu, they did not dare to show it. Faced with the silence of the elders of the Phoenix clan, Lung Ruoxia was starting to get impatient. Why were all these elders of the Phoenix clan just standing there and doing nothing? No wonder the Phoenix clan was not as powerful as it used to be. AI. This is really disappointing. As for the Phoenix King, she had already said that. She didn't believe that the Phoenix King couldn't hear her. With this thought in mind, Lung Ruoxia did not want to wait any longer. She brought her men to the entrance of the Phoenix King's chamber and kicked open the door of the main hall. Then she swaggered in. Chapter 24:10. Are you causing trouble? 2. The elders of the Phoenix clan who had followed along could not stop Lung Ruoxia's violent actions in time, and were squeezed to the back of the line by the mini peacocks. The elders of the Feng clan who had followed them here were all very anxious. At this moment, they heard another scream. Instantly, the faces of the elders of the Phoenix race changed. They rushed into the main hall, only to find that they were surrounded by huge peacocks. In their human forms, they couldn't squeeze in at all. Move. Move aside. An elder of the Phoenix tribe asked anxiously. However, the peacock in front of him blocked the door as if it hadn't heard him. In the end, the peacock in front of a certain Phoenix elder was so annoyed by the noise that it turned around and glared at the Phoenix elder who was trying to squeeze into the hall, and roared. What are you squeezing for? Can't you see that there's a traffic jam ahead? It also wanted to go in and watch the show. It couldn't even walk in, so how could it make way? The peacock was extremely excited to hear that he had shouted at the elder of the Phoenix tribe. Hee. It was good to have a new master. If it was in the past, it would never have dared to speak to the elders of the Phoenix tribe like this. As for the Phoenix tribe elder who had been yelled at, he was completely dumbfounded. He was actually roared by a peacock. This was definitely a heaven-defying rhythm. For many years, the peacock tribe had always been a subsidiary of the Phoenix tribe. They had been ordered around like servants. But now the peacock tribe actually looked down on the Phoenix tribe. This was really a rebellion. At this moment, not only was one elder thinking this way, many other elders were thinking the same way. However, not all of them could accept such a huge difference. However, before some of the elders of the Phoenix clan who were filled with righteous indignation could regain their dignity, they heard another scream coming from the hall. The scream was so miserable that the elders' hearts trembled uncontrollably. It's really terrifying, isn't it? More importantly, they didn't know what had happened in the hall, so all of them felt like there was a kitten in their hearts, and it was unbearable to be scratched by a cat. What's going on inside? Some of the elders couldn't stand their curiosity anymore, so they had no choice but to put down their airs and ask the peacock who was blocking their way. However, the peacocks who were asked didn't give them any good looks. Instead, they replied fiercely, "How would I know? I can't see it either." The elders of the Feng clan were in a mess. The miserable howls inside made them feel more and more uneasy. At this moment, a handsome man squeezed his way out of the main hall. All the elders of the Phoenix tribe looked at him. It was the Peacock King. In the next second, the elders of the Phoenix tribe had the Peacock King surrounded. The Peacock King's face paled when he saw this. He asked in a trembling voice, What are you doing?" "Peacock King, don't be afraid. We just want to ask you, what's going on inside?" An elder of the Phoenix tribe smiled and said in what he thought was a very kind tone, "Are you really going to tell me?" The Peacock King looked at the Phoenix elder with a troubled expression and asked hesitantly, "Speak. We can't get in, so we don't know the situation inside. We're so anxious that we're on fire." An elder of the Phoenix clan said honestly, "Thanks, actually it's not a big deal." The Peacock King looked at the elders of the Phoenix race who had surrounded him. "Nothing major? Why was there a scream from inside?" "Peacock King, if you have something to say, you can just say it. We won't blame you." The elders of the Phoenix tribe had thought that the Peacock King was too afraid to say anything. Therefore, they had made their stand clear. "All right then. This is what you wanted me to say. Don't you regret this?" The Peacock King said cautiously. He paused on purpose to look at the elders of the Phoenix tribe. As for the elders of the Phoenix race, they were all extremely worried by the Peacock King's intermittent words. Seeing this, Peacock King didn't hesitate and said, "The Phoenix King has fainted." "What?" The elders of the Phoenix clan were all shocked. How could the Phoenix King have fainted? Could it be that Lord Lianwu had attacked him? Seeing through the thoughts of the elders, the Peacock King continued. The Phoenix King fainted because he had overindulged in his sexual desires. After saying that, Peacock King's face turned red. The elders of the Feng clan were petrified. Did he faint from overindulgence? This was too embarrassing, wasn't it? After they finally regained their composure, some of the thin-skinned elders of the Phoenix clan were too embarrassed to continue staying in the Phoenix King Palace. Otherwise, they would be so embarrassed that they would be unable to show their faces. After leaving an elder to take care of the Phoenix King, the other elders all left the Phoenix King Palace without looking back. Seeing the elders of the Phoenix race leave just like that, the Peacock King was dumbfounded. Did these elders really believe him? This was simply too unbelievable. Originally, he had thought that these old phoenixes would not believe him. He had even prepared a lot of excuses to persuade them, but who knew that the set of words he had prepared in advance would not be used? Peacock King didn't feel any sense of accomplishment. In fact, he even felt a slight sense of loss. At this moment, he was unwilling to give up. He grabbed the elder of the Phoenix clan who had been left behind and said with a gloomy expression, "Why do you all believe my words so much? Aren't you afraid that I'm lying to you?" "You lied to us? Was there a need for that? Besides, it's not the first time that the Phoenix King has overindulged in sex. However, it's the first time that she fainted," a certain elder of the Phoenix tribe said with a disapproving look. Hearing this, the Peacock King fell silent. All right. The Phoenix King was a repeat offender. Therefore, the elders of the Phoenix clan acted as if it was only natural, and not so easily believed in his words. Peacock King was speechless. He then looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle with a sorrowful expression. Was he being too ignorant? At the same time, a certain elder of the Phoenix tribe who had just finished speaking gave the Peacock King a quick glance before squeezing his way into the hall. When he arrived at the Phoenix King's bedroom, he saw that the Phoenix King was lying on the big red bed unconscious. The two beautiful male servants beside him were already scared silly. They were half naked and crying with snot and tears. Even Lord Wu and the peacocks were watching from the side. They didn't even say anything about covering the unsightly Phoenix King with a blanket. This was really too much. Although that was what the elder was thinking, he did not dare to show it on his face. Instead, he quickly picked up the blanket from the bed and covered the Phoenix King tightly. Then, a certain elder of the Phoenix clan turned around and discussed with Lung Ruoxue apologetically. "Lord Lianwu, it's really not convenient for my Phoenix King to meet with guests right now. How about you go back first? I'll send someone to inform you when the Phoenix King wakes up." "No. I want to stay and help." Lung Ruoxue rejected without even thinking. Chapter 24:11. Are you causing trouble? 3. Hearing this, an elder of the Phoenix tribe was in a dilemma. Stay and help? What did you help? Shouldn't they be watching the fun? A certain elder of the Phoenix clan was complaining nonstop, but he really didn't dare to force Lung Ruoxue to leave. If she were to complain to Lady Wuli, the Phoenix clan would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. At this moment, a certain elder of the Phoenix tribe was truly resentful of the Phoenix King. Why did he have to provoke this guy? Great, this is embarrassing, right? Even though the elder of the Phoenix clan hated the Phoenix King for not living up to his expectations, he knew that the Phoenix King represented the face of the Phoenix clan. If the Phoenix King were to be disgraced, the Phoenix clan would be disgraced as well. Hence, after some thought, he discussed with Lung Ruoxue. "Lord Lianwu, look at our king's current situation. Can you let these peacocks leave for a while so as not to disturb his rest? If there's anything, why don't we wait until the king awakens?" "All right then." Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. Then she gave the peacocks a look. Those peacocks who had not seen enough of the commotion left the Phoenix King's chamber unwillingly. A certain elder of the Phoenix clan who was in a dilemma felt relieved when he saw that the bedroom of the Phoenix King was finally much quieter. However, when he turned around and saw that Lung Ruoxue had no intention of leaving, his heart tightened again. Those peacocks were easy to deal with, but this person was not so easily chased away. What should he do? A certain elder of the Phoenix tribe was at a loss. In the end, he steeled his heart and took the initiative to pull Lung Ruoxue's arm affectionately. They walked out of the palace together and even tried to get closer to Lung Ruoxue. "Lord Lianwu, let's go, I'll treat you to a few drinks." Lung Ruoxue didn't reject this. When they walked out of the main hall and saw the peacocks, Lung Ruoxue purposely mentioned, The elders of the Feng clan want to treat us to a few drinks. It's more lively with more people. The peacocks all cheered when they heard this. The face of the old phoenix who came up with this idea instantly darkened. With so many peacocks, how much must he drink and eat to have enough? At this moment, another peacock said to Lung Ruoxue with a look of yearning, "My lord, the Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine is not bad. We should drink more." He even wanted to drink the 100-flower wine. The poor elder's heart skipped a beat, and he wished he could just faint as well. Initially, he had only suggested this to find an excuse to drag Lung Ruoxue out of the Phoenix King's chamber. After all, the Phoenix King's current appearance was not suitable for outsiders to see. However, he had never expected these peacocks to have such a huge appetite. They even wanted to drink the Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine. Could anyone drink that 100 flowers wine? One should know that unless it was an important festival of the Phoenix clan, even the elders of the Phoenix clan were not qualified to taste the 100-flower wine. And these hateful guys actually asked for the 100-flower wine. Wasn't this asking for his old life? However, Lung Ruoxue was obviously very interested in the peacock's suggestion. She smiled at a certain elder of the Phoenix clan who had a dark expression on her face and said, "Then we'll have to trouble this elder to prepare some 100-flower wine for us. She wouldn't be polite. I will try my best. The 100-flower wine is quite rare, I can't guarantee it." An elder of the Phoenix clan, who was already numb from anger, said with a constipated expression. Unfortunately, Lung Ruoxue wasn't satisfied with his answer. She immediately put on a straight face and said, "Is this how your Phoenix clan treats its guests? Such a petty man. How disappointing." "It is. You're too stingy." All the peacocks agreed in unison, and a certain Phoenix tribe elder almost fainted from anger. A certain elder of the Phoenix clan's face was flushed red as his lips trembled as he looked at Lung Ruoxue. Just when Lung Ruoxue thought that this elder was about to explode, who knew that the elder would actually squat down and start crying? Was there a need to? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. It's just a little wine. He had actually made an elder cry. AI. Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly. She felt as if she was riding a tiger and couldn't back down. However, when she saw the expressions of anticipation on the faces of the peacocks, she didn't want to disappoint them. After some thought, Lung Ruoxue took out a bottle of wine, opened it, and placed it in front of a certain crying Phoenix clan elder. She deliberately shook it, and in an instant, the sobbing Phoenix clan elder was attracted by the fragrance of the wine. The elder of the Phoenix tribe was not the only one who was attracted by the wine. All the peacocks of the Peacock tribe were craning their necks to look at the wine. The Peacock King, who was the only one who had tasted the wine, saw his master take out the wine again. His eyes lit up, but he immediately understood his master's meaning. He couldn't help but jump up and down in anxiety. Thanks, however, before he could stop her, he heard Lung Ruoxue say to the elder of the Phoenix clan, "How about I use this wine to exchange for your Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine? Our Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine uses 100 types of fire attribute flowers. It contains rich fire attribute spiritual chi, which is the most suitable for our Phoenix clan." A certain Phoenix tribe elder said, suppressing the temptation of the liquor worm in his heart. He said this only because he wanted to gain some capital for the Phoenix tribe. Who would have thought that Lung Ruoxue would only smile faintly after hearing his words? "This wine of mine is brewed using over 100 types of heavenly treasures. The spiritual chi contained within it is suitable for humans and beasts of any attribute. Compared to your Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine, its grade is not just a little bit higher. Of course, if you don't think it's worth it, you don't have to trade with me. My dear, don't exchange with them. We've lost too much." When the Peacock King heard this, he quickly stopped her. When the other peacocks heard that their master's wine was brewed with over 100 heavenly treasures, they were all excited and strongly requested not to exchange the 100-flower wine with the Phoenix clan. Compared to master's wine, the 100 flowers wine is simply not enough. However, when Lung Ruoxue heard the peacock's words, she laughed nonchalantly. "Wine is meant to be drunk. Since you've never tasted the Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine, I'll exchange some for you to try. As for my wine, you can drink as much as you want in the future. You don't have to feel bad about it. Look at how heartwarming Master's words were. In an instant, all the peacocks were moved to tears. Some of the more emotional peacocks even choked on their tears and shouted, "Long live Darren! Darren is really too good." The excitement of the peacocks made a certain elder of the Phoenix tribe feel deeply jealous. All of a sudden, he felt that he was very pitiful. He had been toiling like a horse for the Phoenix clan, but he didn't even have the chance to taste the 100-flower wine. Lung Ruashua glanced at the depressed elder of the Phoenix clan and smiled seductively. "I'll have to trouble elder to help me exchange some 100-flower wine for a taste. This bottle of wine will be your reward." With that, Lung Ruashua did not care whether the elder of the Phoenix clan rejected her or not. She immediately stuffed the bottle of wine she had taken out into the hands of the elder. The elder of the Phoenix clan put away the wine without a second thought. With a charming smile, she nodded and said, "Lord Lianwu, don't worry. I definitely won't let you down. However, how do you want to exchange this wine? I want a 1-to-5 ratio. If the Phoenix clan can accept it, I'll exchange it for 100 jars." Lung Ruashua said after counting the number of people on her side. Buzz. An elder of the Phoenix tribe drew a sharp intake of breath upon hearing this. 100 pots. As expected, he was a rich man who spent a lot of money. Lung Ruashua had only given him a small bottle, but a jar of wine could hold at least 100 bottles. Hence, 100 jars of wine was definitely not a small amount, and that was the amount offered by the other party. On the other hand, according to the 1-to-5 ratio for the Phoenix clan, that would be 500 jars. 500 pots. He didn't know if the Phoenix clan could afford it. At this moment, Lung Ruashua noticed that the elder of the Phoenix clan seemed to be hesitating, and whispered something into his ear. The moment the elder heard this, he immediately perked up as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He promised again and again that he would do his best. Soon after, a certain elder of the Phoenix clan, who was so excited that he was almost on cloud 9, left the Phoenix King Palace. As for the unlucky Phoenix King who had fainted, he had long forgotten about her. Seeing the abnormal behavior of the Phoenix tribe elder, Peacock King moved closer to Lung Ruashua with a curious expression and asked, "My dear, what did you say to that elder of the Phoenix clan?" Ignoring the word dear, Lung Ruashua calmly replied, "I only told him that the wine bottle I gave him was a spatial wine bottle, and there was at least half a jar of wine in it. If he couldn't do it, he had to return it to me. Half a jar." The Peacock King's words were instantly attracted by these two words. He didn't hear Lung Ruaksha's words clearly as he shouted, "What a waste! What a waste! Woo-woo. Look at how stingy you are. If you don't give him something in return, will he do his best to exchange wine for us?" Lung Ruashua glanced at the pained-looking Peacock King, and said with a hint of disappointment, "My dear, I think we've suffered a great loss. You still want to exchange for 100 jars? Woo. Let's not exchange, okay? We won't drink the 100-flower wine, okay?" The Peacock King suggested with a bitter face. He really felt that it was not worth it. Not good. It didn't hit. "I also want to try the Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine." Lung Ruashua smiled evilly. In fact, the reason why she wanted to change so much was because of Feng Zhan's request. The old phoenixes in the bracelet missed the taste of the 100-flower wine very much, and her wine was nothing special to those old phoenixes. Therefore, she didn't feel that it was a big deal. It was a pity that the Peacock King didn't understand the situation. Therefore, he was so remorseful that his intestines turned green. He didn't have a good expression on his face when he heard the peacock's suggestion to drink the 100-flower wine. Instantly, the atmosphere was so tense that the peacocks present didn't even dare to breathe. Not long after, the elder of the Phoenix clan, who was in charge of getting Lung Ruashua some wine, came running back in a hurry. "Lord Lianwu, it's done. I've brought the 100-flower wine. Shall we exchange now?" An elder of the Phoenix tribe said excitedly. This time he had really gained some face. "Yes." Lung Ruashua nodded and took out 100 jars of wine. The elders of the Phoenix clan also brought out the wine they had brought with them. After a quick check, both parties were very satisfied. After rejecting the Phoenix clan elder's polite invitation to stay, Lung Ruoxue led the peacocks and Feng Xiu's family out of the Phoenix clan in a grand manner. Of course, before she left, Lung Ruoxue did not forget to tell the Phoenix clan elder to inform her when the Phoenix King woke up. She still had a score to settle with the Phoenix King. Chapter 24:12. Banquet at Hongmen 1. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, a certain elder of the Phoenix clan who had watched Lung Ruoxue and the others leave was petrified. Wu. Why does this Lord Lian Wu still remember this? Did he really think that Lian Wu Darren had already forgotten? What should he do? In fact, the reason why the elders of the Feng clan had so readily agreed to exchange wine with Lord Lian Wu was that the wine was indeed rare. Another reason was that they hoped Lord Lian Wu would forget the grudge between him and the Phoenix King. Otherwise, if he really wanted to find fault with the Phoenix King, it would make them quite conflicted and embarrassed. It wasn't that they couldn't beat Lord Lian Wu, but that her identity was too troublesome. They couldn't fight, but they couldn't. Therefore, after a quick discussion, the elders decided not to provoke that fellow. As for those who had been provoked by the Phoenix King, they would let the Phoenix King find a way to settle them. Most of the elders of the Phoenix clan wanted to keep things at peace, so they naturally didn't want to cause trouble for themselves. However, they also knew that it was very difficult for the king and Lord Lianwu to live in peace. However, as the head of the clan, the Phoenix King should have the spirit of sacrifice. When they thought about it this way, the elders of the Phoenix clan calmed down and naturally believed that the king had to take full responsibility for this matter and shoulder the mission of building a good relationship with Lord Lianwu. Of course, the unconscious Phoenix King was still not clear about the thoughts of the elders. Otherwise, she would have fainted again from anger. When an elder of the Phoenix clan passed on Lord Lianwu's words to the elders of the Phoenix clan, they were even more determined to let the Phoenix King come out and settle this matter. However, the Phoenix King was still in a coma, so this matter could only be temporarily postponed. In order to appease Lung Ruoxue's anger, the elders of the Phoenix clan had already come up with a plan. On the other hand, after Lung Ruoxue left the Phoenix clan's territory with a group of peacocks and Feng Xiu's family, she held a huge banquet. Lung Ruoxue even ordered the Peacock King to invite the magical beasts that she was on good terms with as guests. However, when the Peacock King heard these words, he was in a difficult position. Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes when she saw the expression on the Peacock King's face. She asked in a speechless manner, "What? Don't tell me you don't have any befriended beasts?" "There's no one," Peacock King said embarrassedly. The competition among the beasts in the Phoenix territory was very fierce. He had always been taken care of by the Phoenix King. Therefore, he had become the target of public criticism. However, God knew that he did not want the Phoenix King to take care of him with ulterior motives, but he did not dare to resist. As time passed, his relationship with the beasts in the Phoenix territory became very delicate. Moreover, due to the coveting of the Phoenix King, he rarely stepped out of the Peacock tribe's territory. Otherwise, just the ambiguous gazes of the Phoenix territory's beasts would be enough to break him down. And he had also become the most otaku beastie in the history of the Phoenix territory. Of course, these were all his sad history. Other than the members of the Peacock clan, he was too embarrassed to share it with others. However, from the Peacock King's ugly expression, it was not hard for Lung Ruoxue to guess that he did not have a good relationship with the beasts. After some thought, Lung Ruoxue said, "Go and invite them. It's good that they're here. It'll save me a lot of trouble. If they're not, I'll have to trouble myself to make a trip here." The Peacock King nodded his head in a daze. He could not help but guess in his heart. The master said that he would make a trip personally. Could it be what he was thinking? Thanks. Following that, the dumbfounded Peacock King saw his master hand him a list of names. On it were the names of a few beasts. These beasts were the ones that Lung Ruoxue was planning to recruit. According to Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, they might as well have a feast at Hongmen. This saved her the trouble of making another trip. She felt that she should be waiting for the Phoenix King to wake up at the Peacock tribe and give her all to make things difficult for the Phoenix King. Therefore, she naturally did not have any extra time to communicate with those beasts. The best way was to gather all the beasts that she wanted to recruit together. It was best for those beasts to be tactful. If they dared to disobey, then don't blame her for using violence. The more Lung Ruoxua thought about it, the more she felt that her idea was good. However, when she saw the evil smile on Lung Ruoxia's ugly face, Peacock King could not help but break out in cold sweat. He seemed to have already foreseen the fate of the beasts who came. However, now that Lung Ruoxua was his master, he naturally could not help an outsider. Hence, he handed the task to his most capable subordinate without any shame. After that, he arranged for the other clansmen to make all the preparations. Of course, the most important thing was that the defense work had to be done well to prevent those beasts from escaping. The Peacock clan was busy preparing for the upcoming banquet, but the beasts who had received the Peacock King's invitation were confused. Although they lived in the Phoenix territory, and were all subsidiary races of the Phoenix tribe, they did not have much interaction with each other. Therefore, the beasts who received the invitation could not understand what was wrong with the Peacock King to actually invite them to the banquet. However, the Peacock tribesman in charge of the invitation had made it clear that he was inviting them to drink the 100-flower wine. Upon hearing this, although the beast clans were puzzled, they still couldn't resist the temptation of the 100-flower wine and agreed to the appointment. When the Peacock King heard the replies of these clans, he felt rather complicated deep down in his heart. This was because he deeply felt that these beastie beasts would not be able to return. With master's means, how could he let these beasts who came to his door go? Although he was the one who invited these beasts, it wasn't up to him to decide if they would come or not. And from the moment these beasties decided to come, their fate had already been decided. Out of sympathy, the Peacock King was generous when he learned that the invited families would come. He ordered his people to bring out the best collection of the Peacock tribe. They would leave the Phoenix territory soon anyway, so this meal was equivalent to a farewell meal. The Beast clan leaders who had been invited were all secretly shocked when they saw the generous hospitality of the Peacock clan. A few of them could not help but wonder if the Peacock King had already become a member of the Phoenix King's harem. Otherwise, why would he be willing to take out so many good things to entertain them? Especially when they saw the pots of 100-flower wine on the table, the Beast clan leaders couldn't help but widen their eyes. It really was the Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine. And so many jars. Oh my God! What was going on? The Phoenix clan's 100-flower wine was stored in a jar unique to the Phoenix clan. They had all been lucky enough to see it before, so they naturally recognized it. When they had been invited, they had heard from the Peacock King's messenger that he would treat them to the 100 flowers wine. In fact, the leaders of the Beast clans had been skeptical, but the 100 flowers wine's temptation was simply too great. Even if they didn't completely believe that the Peacock clan would be willing to bring out the 100 flowers wine to treat their guests, they still came with the purpose of finding out what was happening. Chapter 24:13. Banquet at Hongmen 2. But now, after seeing the jar of 100-flower wine with their own eyes, they had no choice but to believe. Seeing so much 100-flower wine, the tribe leaders knew in their hearts that the Peacock tribe had definitely bled a fortune. As for why, they had no idea. Just as the few Beast clan leaders were making wild guesses, the Peacock King and Lung Ruoxua walked towards them. They naturally recognized the Peacock King. As for the ugly woman beside him, they had never seen her before. However, they didn't think too much about it, thinking that she was the Peacock King's subordinate or something. After exchanging pleasantries with the other beast patriarchs, the Peacock King invited them to take a seat. At this moment, the elders were surprised to find that the ugly woman was sitting beside the Peacock King. This woman was definitely not his subordinate. The Peacock King glanced at the bewildered expressions of the beast leaders and said with a faint smile, "This is my master." What? The beast patriarchs paled in shock upon hearing this. Did they hear wrong? That ugly woman was actually the Peacock King's master. What was going on? When did this happen? Why didn't they receive any news? I will be your master in the future. At this moment, Lung Ruoxua spoke again. As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of the beast patriarchs instantly darkened. The Peacock King looked at his master helplessly. Was he going to deal with these guys before dinner? Wasn't Master a little too impatient? Faced with the Peacock King's helpless silence, the beast patriarchs understood that this woman wasn't joking. However, wasn't this too much of a bully? They had no intention of finding a master for themselves. At the thought of this, the Eagle tribe leader, who had the worst temper, shouted angrily with a dark expression. If you want to be our master, we'll have to see if you have the ability. With that, the Eagle race's leader, who had transformed into his human form, immediately returned to his original form. With a heaven-devouring force, he pounced towards Lung Ruoxia's direction furiously. In its true form, the Condor tribe leader was close to 2 meters long. When its 2 huge wings were spread out, it was about 10 meters long. It was also a rare snow condor and had an extremely beautiful appearance. Lung Ruoxia was quite satisfied with this condor at first sight. When she saw the enraged Condor tribe leader pouncing towards her, she did not even try to dodge. Instead, she smiled at the ferocious giant condor. The giant eagle was already very close to him, and seeing this ugly monster looking down on it, it became even more angry. It flapped its huge wings and fiercely swooped down from above. Following that, all the beasts present heard a loud bang. A huge creature flipped a few times and fell out of the main venue of the banquet. Before the beasts could see what was going on, the huge creature crashed into the fence built by the Peacock clan. A huge net fell from the sky and caught the huge creature. At this moment, the beasties could see clearly that the person caught in the net was the Eagle tribe leader. All the beastie were silent. Everything had happened too quickly, and they did not see clearly how the Eagle tribe leader had flown out, hit the fence, and was caught in the net. However, the Peacock King, who was standing beside Lung Ruoxia, was well aware of everything. Thanks, the one who had sent the Condor tribe leader flying was the little white cat in his master's arms. He looked at the little white cat's small and exquisite claws, then glanced at the Condor tribe leader's huge body. Comparing the size of the two beasts, the Peacock King was about to kneel. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. How could this little kitten be so violent? There was clearly a great disparity in strength. However, that kick had come from the snowy white cat. To be honest, if it was his master who did it, he would feel better, but it wasn't he. How could the pet cat that only knew how to let its owner hug it all day? The Peacock King couldn't think of any words to describe this cat. However, he knew that he must not provoke this seemingly harmless but violent and bloodthirsty cat in the future. Sob. The Peacock King's little heart was experiencing an unprecedented test at this moment. He even thought to himself that he had never provoked this cat before, right? The Peacock King carefully recalled the past. On the other side, the other beast patriarchs were also shocked speechless. Their positions and angles weren't as good as the Peacock King's, so they couldn't see clearly who had attacked. However, they knew that it wasn't the ugly woman, but someone else. Who was this person? Although the Condor clan's chief's abilities could not be compared to the 4 great king divine beasts, his abilities were still ranked among the beast clans. Now he had been sent flying without even using a single move. Not only could the Condor clan's chief not accept it, they could not accept it as well. Looking at the petrified and clearly dispirited Eagle tribe leader, the Eagle tribe leader endured it for a long time. In the end, he could not hold back the curiosity in his heart and asked, "May I ask, who was the one who attacked the Condor tribe's chief just now?" "It's me." "What, you want to take revenge for this stupid bird?" Hearing the Eagle tribe leader's words, Song arrogantly said, because the area of Azure was too small. At the start, the Eagle tribe leader only heard the sound and did not see anyone. Later, after feeling Azure's anger, the Eagle tribe leader's face was covered in sweat as he realized that the one who spoke was the little kitten in the ugly woman's arms. This fact immediately threw the Eagle tribe leader into a state of confusion. Never in his dreams would he have thought that this petite and seemingly weak little cat would actually be able to send the powerful Eagle tribe leader flying with a kick. Was this reasonable? This was absolutely illogical. The Eagle tribe leader felt that it was very likely that he had been fooled, so his face instantly turned darker than the bottom of a pot. At this time, the other beast tribe leaders also came to a realization and looked at Song with constipated expressions. After watching for a long time, They still could not tell that this little kitty had the ability to send the eagle tribe leader flying with a kick. The few tribe leaders secretly discussed it and finally decided to send someone out to test the depths of this little kitty. The beasts that were sent out were from the Eagle clan. The Eagle clan was a rather large beast clan with a wide variety of eagles. The eagle that was sent out was the #1 warrior of the Eagle clan. It came from the Golden Eagle clan and had extraordinary strength. However, when Song saw the golden eagle in front of him, he didn't even lift his eyelids and only said indifferently, "You want to fight me one-on-one? It is." The golden giant eagle looked at Song, not daring to be careless. Seeing that Song didn't take it seriously, its proud self-esteem couldn't take it anymore. Then the golden eagle roared again. "If I win, you'll have to follow my orders in the future." Chapter 24:14. Banquet at Hongmen 3? No problem, he said. Then what if I beat you? Will your eagle clan listen to my Neo from now on? This, the golden eagle stammered. This was not something it could decide. So you can't make the decision? Song laughed, his face full of disdain. You can't make the decision, Yi Song said. Then find someone who can make the decision to fight me one-on-one. Hearing this, the giant golden eagle turned to look at the eagle tribe leader. The eagle tribe leader was a little angry and cursed in his heart. Why are you looking at me? To be honest, he only wanted to send someone to test the cat's strength. He didn't want them to use the fate of the Eagle clan as a bargaining chip. But now, it seemed that if he didn't agree, this little kitten wouldn't accept the challenge at all. I promise you. The Eagle tribe leader gritted his teeth and pondered for a long while before helplessly replying. He didn't believe that the cat was that strong. Hee. That's the way. Song said with satisfaction. Then the beasts saw a white lightning bolt shoot out from Lung Ruox's chest. Then the beasts heard a scream. When they took a closer look, they saw that the beautiful golden eagle was now covered in wounds and most of its beautiful golden feathers had fallen off. It was a horrible sight. After a pained cry, the proud golden eagle couldn't accept the difference in strength between it and Azure, and fainted from the pain. At the sight of this, the eagle tribe leader's face turned ashen. He didn't even see how the cat had attacked, and the #1 warrior of his tribe had already been seriously injured. Such a difference was too much of a blow to the beast. Then he thought of what he had promised the kitten. Instantly, he shriveled up like a frost-beaten eggplant. Seeing the dejected look on the eagle tribe leader's face, the few beast tribe leaders who were still relatively safe at the moment did not dare to make a sound. One had to know that the eagle tribe leader was the most powerful among the beast tribe leaders. But now he was in such a state. The other beast chieftains were so depressed that they were about to vomit blood. The eagle chieftain had not even made a move, and he had already become someone else's beast. What were they supposed to do then? All of the beast patriarchs were on the verge of tears. They could sense that they wouldn't be able to struggle for much longer. Sure enough, they heard Song say, "Now it's your turn. Do you want me to make a move, or do you want to surrender?" Woo, it was their turn so soon. I surrender. A thin-looking young man took the lead to speak. He was the leader of the Goose clan. The strength of the Goose clan was incomparable to that of the Eagle clan and the Condor clan. Since they could not beat this cat, he deeply felt that there was no need for him to continue resisting. You're a good child. Azure nodded in satisfaction. The leader of the Wild Goose tribe was not happy at all after being praised, because he had already felt several unfriendly gazes. He knew that because of his good-for-nothing surrender, the other leaders of the beast tribes had some opinions about him. But what could he do? He was a disadvantageous group sub. After taking the initiative to surrender, in order to reduce the huge pressure on himself, the Yen clan leader could not help but move closer to Lung Ruoxia, so that he would not become the punching bag for the other beasties. When Lung Ruoxia saw this, she could not help but laugh to herself. However, in order to cooperate with Song, Lung Ruoxia deliberately put on a straight face and said, "I'll give you 5 more minutes to think about it. If you still don't give me an answer after 5 minutes, I'll have to use force." Girl, don't wait for 5 minutes, use force now. I think these guys won't give up until they see the coffin. It's useless to give them 50 minutes, and they're even delaying our meal. So, let's not wait any longer. When Song heard Lung Ruox's words, he was extremely anxious. If it wasn't afraid that these guys would delay its meal, it wouldn't even bother to attack. Therefore, its only hope now was that these beasts would be tactful and not let it worry too much. Otherwise, it would be angry. After hearing Song and Lung Ruox's conversation, the few clan leaders of the beast clans who had yet to express their stance were on the verge of tears. This was definitely forcing them. Why did they have such a hard life? If I had known, I wouldn't have come for this meal. Well, even if you didn't come for this meal, we would still find you. So just accept your fate. Don't put up a stubborn resistance, it's useless. After hearing the inner thoughts of the beast clan leaders, Azure told them this terrifying truth. When the beast clan leaders heard this, their expressions became even uglier. Song could no longer stand Wuxia's attitude, and immediately, a few of the beast leaders fell to the ground. Including the Eagle clan leader, the other beast clan leaders all had pale faces as they looked at Song in disbelief. This cat had only released a little bit of its aura, and it was able to suppress them to the point where they couldn't breathe. What kind of strength was this? Thanks, I'm afraid that even the Phoenix King can't do anything to this cat. After sensing Song's strength, the other beast tribe leaders who had wanted to ask for help from the Phoenix tribe gave up on that thought. They then looked at Song like wives and said with a wronged expression, We are willing to surrender. Sop. The situation is pressing. Seeing that the matter was settled, Azure smiled in satisfaction. It would have been better if you had known earlier. None of the beast leaders dared to reply. Then they heard Song Yu mutter to himself. Although you've surrendered, you've wasted our precious meal time. So I'm going to punish you. None of you are allowed to drink today. Hearing this, the leaders of the beast clans became even sadder. Is there any justice in this world? It was already frustrating enough to be forced to surrender. Now even the right to drink was taken away. It was too cruel. Oh heavens! The earth! This was too beastly. The dejection in the hearts of the beast tribe leaders could not be described with words. And Azure was completely uninterested in what they were thinking. He ordered the peacocks in charge of serving the beast tribe leaders to bring the wine in front of him. And Azure immediately began eating. Following that, Lung Ruoxia also started eating with a smile on her face. When the peacocks saw this, they cheered in unison and started eating without holding back. Seeing the snowy white kitten not far away, holding a bone that was at least twice its size and gnawing on it, the other chiefs of the beast clans who were also gnawing on the bone but didn't know what they were feeling. In short, they were very complicated. Especially when they saw the meat of others accompanied by wine, they were even more depressed. Why was he so aggrieved at this banquet of hongmen? Before the banquet started, there was an additional host, and he didn't even have the right to drink. The Eagle tribe leader had even guessed that this person might not even have prepared a portion for them. Otherwise, why would he take them down before they even started eating? Normally, shouldn't he only attack when they were full and dazed? It had to be said that the Eagle tribe leader was right. Lung Ruoxia really thought that way. Even though it was a treacherous plot, Lung Ruoxia had no intention of treating them to a meal before she settled them, so as not to waste her own food. After all, being thrifty was a virtue. She felt that the number of beasts she had to raise was increasing, so she naturally had to be more careful with her calculations. As for not giving them wine to drink, it had nothing to do with Lung Ruoxia. To put it bluntly, that was entirely Song's own decision. Song, that stingy fellow, would not bear to feed these idiots good wine. Just like that, Lung Ruoxia led the peacocks to eat and drink to their heart's content. As for the few beast clan leaders who had come for the wine, they could only smell the wine without any complaints. Otherwise, if the little kitty were to go on a rampage, none of them would be able to hold it back. After the feast at Hongmen in their eyes ended, the few beast clan leaders took the initiative to acknowledge their master. Under Lung Ruoxia's arrangement, they returned to their clan to pack their things and also to appease their clansmen who were still unaware of the truth. Lung Ruoxia, on the other hand, continued to stay in the Peacock clan. She also informed the clan leaders that if there were any difficulties that they could not solve, they had to tell her and she would settle it. Hearing this, the hearts of the other beast clan leaders began to tremble. Could they say that they didn't dare to trouble their newly minted master? Now that they knew Lung Ruoxia's identity, it wasn't hard to imagine how violent and bloodthirsty their master would be when he said he would settle her. With a heart full of fear and anxiety, the leaders of the magical beasts fled from the territory of the Peacock clan. They made up their minds that if any of their clansmen dared to oppose the Peacock clan, they would be the ones to suppress them. As he watched the backs of the beast patriarchs leave, the Peacock King couldn't help but tease. Master is still the best. Look at how they all ran away when they heard that Master was going to make a move. Yes, so be good and don't make me do it. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes narrowed as she smiled faintly. I've always been a good girl. Hearing this, the Peacock King broke out in a cold sweat. He looked at Lung Ruoxia with a fawning expression. On his beautiful little face, it was written, Master, please praise me. Lung Ruoxia was speechless when she saw the expression on the Peacock King's face. Song Zi glared at the Peacock King fiercely, causing him to shiver in fear. Woo! He had actually forgotten about this violent person. This little cat was definitely 10 times scarier than its owner. The Peacock King was extremely conflicted. Just as he was thinking about how to please this little kitten, he suddenly heard the guard's voice. Master King! The Phoenix King is awake. Upon hearing this news, Peacock King was excited. He quickly told Lung Ruoxia, Master, let's go see the Phoenix King. Chapter 24:15. Feng Xiao's biased side. 1. Seeing how anxious the Peacock King was, Lung Ruoxia let out a faint smile. She then sized him up and only let him go when she was about to make the Peacock King's hair stand on end. She then said with a look of understanding, I didn't expect you to care so much about the Phoenix King. It seems that you really can't forget your old feelings for her. Why don't I grant you your wish? Upon hearing this, the Peacock King almost knelt down. With a long face, he looked at Lung Ruoxia with an aggrieved expression and said pitifully, Master, you can't wrong me like this. Oh? How did I wrong you, this person? Weren't you the one who wanted to see the Phoenix King the moment you heard that she had woken up? Lung Ruoxia pointed out this fact with a calm expression. When the Peacock King heard this, he even wanted to strangle himself. He couldn't help but cry out in his heart that he was wronged. He really didn't rush to see the Phoenix King because he was concerned about her. He mainly wanted to see how his master would bully the Phoenix King. He felt that such a scene was quite lovely. After some thought, the Peacock King spoke with a serious expression. Master, I have no old feelings for the Phoenix King. You know that. I just wanted to see the Phoenix King make a fool of himself. It's definitely not what you think. The Peacock King felt even more aggrieved as he spoke. In fact, he knew very well that his master was just playing with him. However, he really did not want to be involved with the Phoenix King. Therefore, he must do his best to defend his reputation. He must not be sullied by that female pervert, the Phoenix King. With this thought in mind, the expression on the Peacock King's face became more and more serious. It was as if he would die if Lung Ruoxia accused him wrongly. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxia naturally knew that it was time to stop joking. She stopped teasing him and said, It's only a matter of time before I go to see the Phoenix King. However, the Phoenix clan hasn't sent anyone to inform us that the Phoenix King has woken up. This is enough to show that the Phoenix King can't see anyone now. So we'd better wait. After all, we have to give the Phoenix clan some face, right? The Peacock King nodded, but he didn't think so. He didn't believe that his master would give the Phoenix tribe so much face. He probably had other tricks up his sleeve. Thinking of this, he was instantly excited. As the saying goes, a good meal is not afraid of being late. It's fine to find trouble with the Phoenix King a few days later. After the Peacock King had thought it through, he looked at his master with a coquettish expression. However, Lung Ruoxia only said to him, I'm going to rest. After she finished speaking, she patted her butt and left. Only the dumbfounded Peacock King was left standing there. The Peacock King couldn't understand why his master suddenly wanted to rest. There was no sign of it at all. No one could guess the master's thoughts. The Peacock King sighed and went to rest. At the same time, the Phoenix King, who had just woken up in the Phoenix clan, was also facing the threat of a treacherous plot. However, there was no food or wine to eat in this treacherous plot. Thanks all the elders of the Phoenix clan gathered in the Phoenix King Palace. They had already discussed the countermeasures and results, and all of them were staring at the sick Phoenix King who was half lying on the bed, their faces full of helplessness. After the elder and the Phoenix King stared at each other for a long time, the Phoenix King finally couldn't help but burst out. "How long do you plan to watch me? If you have something to say, say it. Get lost after you're done. I still need to rest." The Phoenix King's tone was extremely unpleasant. When the elders of the Phoenix clan heard this, they were even more dissatisfied with her. At this moment, an elder of the Phoenix tribe, under the encouraging gazes of the other elders, said in a slightly reproachful tone, "Phoenix King, although you are the Phoenix King, we are also the elders of the Phoenix King. How can you speak to us so rudely and impolitely? Damn it. You still know that I'm the Phoenix King? So many of you elders have come to see me. What is the meaning of this?" The Phoenix King was also very dissatisfied. She was not a fool. Looking at the elders' expressions, she knew that these elders had something to tell her. Moreover, it was a very important thing. Otherwise, they would not have come in such a neat manner. Apart from the elders who were not in the clan, almost all the elders were present. The king has just woken up. As a member of the Phoenix clan, isn't it only right for us to come and see the king on behalf of our clansmen? Or is it that the king hopes that we won't come to see you? To tell the truth, there were still many clansmen who wanted to express their concern for the king. However, we were afraid that too many of our clansmen would come and disturb the king's rest, so we stopped them. The elder of the Phoenix clan who had spoken earlier on was not blushing at all. His heart was not beating fast as he explained his reasoning. Furthermore, at first glance it sounded so reasonable. From this, it could be seen that the elders of the Phoenix clan had their reasons for letting him be the representative. After all, his eloquence was one of the best in the Phoenix clan. Even if he couldn't bring the dead back to life, he wasn't far from it. Sure enough, after hearing this, the Phoenix King was silent for a while. She couldn't refute these words at all. She couldn't be angry just because he was concerned about her. If she offended all the elders, how could she, the Phoenix King, manage the Phoenix clan well in the future? Thinking of this, the expression on the Phoenix King's face immediately eased, and his tone became much more amiable. "Thank you for your concern, elders," the Phoenix King said. After she finished speaking, she suddenly thought of a certain person that she hated so much that she gritted her teeth and asked, "Did that Lianwu get lost?" "Your Majesty, Lord Lianwu is the Divine Lord's man. As the saying goes, even if you don't give face to the monk, you should give face to the Buddha. Even if you're talking to God Lord Fogripple, you can't speak to him like this. It's a good thing Lord Lianwu isn't here right now, or else I'm afraid he'll laugh at our Feng clan for being impolite," the eloquent elder of the Phoenix clan advised. When the Phoenix King heard this, he was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. When did that damned Lianwu manage to bribe the elders of her Phoenix clan? However, without giving the Phoenix King a chance to get angry, the elder continued to speak eloquently. "King, since you've mentioned Lord Lianwu, then I'll represent the Elder Council and have a good talk with you. We know that King and Lord Lianwu have some misunderstandings, but it's not easy to make enemies. The other party is also a trusted aide of God Lord Lianwu. Thus, after some discussion, our Elder Council has decided to be on good terms with Lord Lianwu. As for the matter of roping in Lord Lianwu, King will have to personally appear. I hope that your Majesty can put aside your grudges and live in harmony with Lord Lianwu and the Divine Master's estate for the future of our Phoenix clan. After all, the current Phoenix clan is different from the past, and we can't put on the airs of the past. I hope that your Majesty can understand the elders' efforts and help us rebuild the glory of the Phoenix clan." The more the elder spoke, the more agitated he became. Very quickly, he had infected the emotions of all the elders present. However, the Phoenix King's beautiful face turned darker and darker after hearing what he said. Damn it! What was going on? Why did she not recognize these elders of the Phoenix clan after she had been unconscious for such a short while? Chapter 24:16. Feng Xiao's biased side too, the Phoenix King was furious. He looked at the elders with his fiery red eyes, which shot out two clusters of raging flames. The flames of anger seemed to want to burn all the elders present into ashes. The elders had already expected the Phoenix King's reaction. Therefore, they were not surprised at all. Instead, they calmly looked at the Phoenix King's beautiful eyes that were spewing fire. There were even elders who couldn't help but think in their hearts, their king. Other than being lecherous, the Phoenix tribe's biggest flaw was their stubbornness. They could tolerate their lecherous nature, but they could not tolerate their stubbornness. Otherwise, the Phoenix tribe would become a second-rate beast tribe sooner or later. That was something they did not want to see. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken this opportunity to try and correct some of the Phoenix King's bad habits. Perhaps they would have to pay a huge price for this, but they could not allow their king to continue like this. After all, the Phoenix clan now was no longer the powerful Phoenix clan that was filled with talents tens of thousands of years ago. It was imperative for the Phoenix clan to reform. It was with this goal, and thought that the elders had already decided that they would not compromise this time. They had to change some of the king's bad habits. After the Phoenix King and the other elders stared at each other for a long time, seeing that these elders had no intention of retreating at all, he began to think in his heart. Something must have happened that she didn't know about. Otherwise, these elders who had always listened to her would never dare to go against her like this. One had to know that there were many of his trusted elders here. Now they were all going against him. Didn't this mean that things were getting serious? After thinking for a while, the Phoenix King put on an aggrieved expression and said, "I can understand that you want to be on good terms with Lianwu, but do you know how I was injured?" Hearing this, the elders of the Feng clan looked at each other. Did this mean that Lord Lianwu had something to do with King's injury? However, they were also present at the time. Although they were outside the house, they were very sure that they didn't hear the sound of Lord Lianwu's attack. However, presumably, the king wouldn't lie to them because of such a matter, so they still had this bit of confidence. Seeing the confusion on the elders' faces, and some of them even put on a humble look to ask for advice, the Phoenix King could not help but smile proudly in her heart. "Damn Lianwu, you want to fight with her? No way." Then the Phoenix King continued, "It's all because of Lord Lianwu that I was heavily injured." When the Phoenix King said this, she deliberately pretended to be pitiful. As soon as she finished speaking, her confidants and elders immediately showed sympathy. However, those elders did not say anything. Instead, the elder with the excellent eloquence spoke on her behalf. "King means that your injury is related to Lord Lianwu?" He needed to make sure. "Didn't I already tell you?" The Phoenix King was a little angry from embarrassment. Was this guy deaf? But we are sure that Lord Lianwu didn't make a move. The elder replied honestly. As soon as he finished speaking, the other elders of the Phoenix clan nodded in agreement. The Phoenix King's face darkened even more. Fuck. Were these guys really the elders of the Phoenix clan? Aren't they the subordinates of that damned Lianwu? The Phoenix King had lived for so long and had seen many ungrateful people, but she had never seen an elder who would side with outsiders like this. She felt that she was really going to die of anger, especially when she saw that many elders agreed with her. The anger in her heart could not help but rise to the top of her head. She didn't do anything, but she disturbed this prince's mood. At that time, this prince was at a critical moment and was frightened by her. Naturally, this prince was injured. Do you think this prince's injury has nothing to do with her? After taking a few deep breaths, the Phoenix King spoke without shame. Thanks. Actually, the Phoenix King's words were definitely a little exaggerated. When she heard the Peacock King complain to Lung Ruoxue, she had already held her breath. However, she was in high spirits at the time and could not refute it. Following that, she heard Lung Ruoxue's curses, and saw Lung Ruoxue leading a group of people into her palace hall. In that instant, she was so angry that she could not catch her breath and fainted. As for overindulgence, it was the crime Lung Ruoxue had arranged for her. The elders of the Phoenix clan were not surprised that the Phoenix King, who had a criminal record, had fainted because of this. After all, their king was indeed lustful. However, the Phoenix King didn't think that there was anything wrong with her liking men. Not only was she not ashamed, but she was also proud of it. Moreover, she also really felt that fainting from doing something was better than fainting from anger. As such, the Phoenix King naturally found a good reason to pass out. However, when the elders of the Phoenix clan heard the Phoenix King's shameless words, they blushed in embarrassment and wished they could find a hole to hide in. How could the Phoenix King have the nerve to say this? Some of the elders with high self-esteem were embarrassed and angry, and their faces were red with anger. Many of the elders expressed their helplessness towards the Phoenix King. They had truly experienced the king's thick skin today. Ai. No wonder all the little phoenixes now. King, this matter cannot be completely blamed on Lord Lianwu. As the king of the Phoenix clan, Lord Lianwu is also a guest of my clan. How could you only care about your own enjoyment, and not properly entertain the guest? Under the expectant gazes of all the elders, the elder who was highly anticipated by the crowd once again opened his mouth to criticize. His words naturally resonated with most of the elders. They looked at the Phoenix King with more and more disapproval. When the Phoenix King saw this, he was truly angry. Fuck. This damn guy, is he bent on going against me? He clearly knew that he hated Lianwu. Yet he still dared to accuse him of not treating his guests well? Why did she have to treat that guy well? She really wanted Lianwu to get lost as soon as possible. Wait a minute. The Phoenix King suddenly had a flash of inspiration and remembered something. Didn't Lianwu go to find the parasol tree? Why did he come back so quickly? Could it be that no sycamore tree was willing to leave with her, so she came back early? Thinking of this possibility, the Phoenix King burst out laughing. Seeing the Phoenix King's anger and laughter, the elders were all speechless. What had triggered the king? Could it be that he was really angered by them? At that moment, the elders of the Phoenix clan heard the Phoenix King ask, "Where's Feng Yin? Get Feng Yin to come see me." Feng Yin was the clansman of the Phoenix clan who had accompanied Lung Ruoxia to look for the parasol tree. He was also one of the trusted aides of the Phoenix clan, and was extremely favored and trusted by the Phoenix King. Upon hearing the order from the Phoenix King, the elders looked at each other again. The king was really abnormal. They were talking about Lord Lianwu. Why did they look for Feng Yin? Chapter 24:17. Feng Xiao's bias side 3. The elders who didn't know what was going on gave their representatives a look, and the eloquent elder of the Phoenix clan quickly reminded, "King, Feng Yin isn't here, so let's first discuss the matter between you and Lord Lianwu. You can summon Feng Yin later." "No. I want to see Feng Yin now. I don't have anything to discuss with that Lianwu," the Phoenix King said willfully. "My king." A certain elder looked at the Phoenix King with a slight headache. At this moment, Feng Yin, who the Phoenix King wanted to see, was brought over by the guards. The moment Feng Yin saw the Phoenix King, she immediately wailed and cried, "My king! The Wutong tree! The Wutong tree was taken away by Lord Lianwu." "What did you just say?" Hearing this, the Phoenix King stood up immediately. The expressions of all the elders of the Phoenix clan changed drastically as they looked at Feng Yin nervously. In fact, Feng Yin had just woken up from his coma. Just as he was about to report this matter to the Phoenix King, he coincidentally received a guard's notice that the Phoenix King wanted to see him. The moment he heard it, he couldn't wait any longer, and came to the Phoenix King palace. "The sycamore tree is gone," Feng Yin repeated when he saw the shock and disbelief on the faces of the Phoenix King and the elders. Following that, Feng Yin explained everything that happened in the parasol tree forest to the Phoenix King and the elders. After the Phoenix King and the elders heard it, they were all as anxious as ants on a hot pan. The furious Phoenix King could not help but vent all her anger on the elder who had been speaking up for Lianwu. She said fiercely, "What else do you have to say now? Do you still want our Phoenix clan to be on good terms with that damned Lianwu?" The Phoenix King was furious, and the consequences would be severe. Originally, she just wanted to ask Feng Yin and Lianwu about the situation in the parasol tree forest. She didn't expect to hear that all her parasol trees had disappeared. This time, the hatred in her heart for Lianwu rose a few steps. However, after the elder of the Phoenix tribe who had been scolded heard that the parasol tree had disappeared, he calmed down. He glanced at the Phoenix King and asked, According to what this subordinate knows, it was King who personally agreed for Lord Lianwu to go to the Parasol Tree Forest. King even swore that if Lord Lianwu could move the entire Parasol Tree Forest away, King would not have any objections. Now that Lord Lianwu really did that, why is King regretting it? If you want this subordinate to say a few words of justice, Lord Lianwu is not in the wrong. After all, Wang Yiyan was the one who started it. After listening to the elder's words, the Phoenix King was so angry that her whole body trembled. She pointed her white jade-like finger at the elder, unable to say a complete sentence. This time, she was really angry. This damn guy, he clearly wants to go against me. To side with an outsider like this. Could it be that he had already been bribed by that hateful Lianwu? As soon as the seed of doubt was planted in the Phoenix King's heart, she instantly lost her good face towards this elder who only knew how to go against her. She also felt that this elder was extremely unpleasant to the eye. Moreover, the more she looked at this elder, the more suspicious she became. In the end, she was even certain that this guy had definitely been bribed by Lianwu. However, before the Phoenix King could voice out her thoughts, an elder agreed and said, "Elder Xiao's words are very reasonable. This matter was indeed started by Wang Yiyan. It was the king who was too careless." Upon hearing this, the Phoenix King felt a mouthful of blood surging up her throat. Her mouth was instantly filled with the taste of blood. She suppressed her anger and swallowed the mouthful of blood. Her already unhealthy face turned white and black, black and white. However, at this moment, no elder cared about the king's expression. Instead, he suggested in all seriousness, "If even Lady Wu really took away our parasol trees, we have to be on good terms with her. You must know that not everyone can take away those parasol trees, unless they are willing." Yup. I didn't expect Lord Lianwu to have such ability to make those parasol trees listen to her. If we get along well with her, Lord Lianwu will be happy and might even return those parasol trees to us. After all, she's not from the Phoenix clan. Those parasol trees are useless to her, aren't they? The more the elder spoke, the more excited he became. The anxiety, shock, and disbelief on his face had all turned into joy. When he said this, many elders also deeply agreed, feeling that it was exactly that logic. Hearing the discussions of the elders, Feng Yun, who originally came to complain, was instantly dumbfounded. How did this happen? This shouldn't be the case. After knowing that the Wutong tree had been stolen, shouldn't these elders be so angry that they would gather their clansmen to snatch the Wutong tree back? Then, what was the situation now? Thanks, Feng Yun was at a loss. The Phoenix King was so angry that he was speechless. At this moment, the eloquent elder Xiao smiled and said, "All the elders have a point. To us, befriending Lord Lianwu is absolutely of utmost importance." However, the king doesn't seem to agree with this. As he spoke, Elder Xiao changed the topic to the furious Phoenix King. "Your Majesty, don't be angry anymore. It was indeed your fault for not being careful with your words, which caused our Phoenix tribe to lose our parasol tree. Therefore, you must make up for your mistake. Otherwise, you will be a sinner of our Phoenix tribe." As soon as Elder Xiao's words fell, there were immediately elders who criticized the Phoenix King with righteous words. Naturally, these words were highly praised by the other elders. The Phoenix King's brain was buzzing from all the noise. Although she endured it, in the end, she couldn't take it anymore and shouted angrily, "All of you shut up! I know what to do. I don't need you to teach me." The Phoenix King's anger could not be described with words. Especially when she saw Elder Xiao looking at her with a smile and anticipation. The anger in her heart deepened. Now, even if she insisted that Feng Xiao had been bribed by Lianwu, the elders would not believe her. It was really too detestable. Knowing the anger and dissatisfaction of the Phoenix King, Feng Xiao said without fear of death, "Then when will the Phoenix King meet Lord Lianwu? This matter should not be delayed. Otherwise, if Lord Lianwu leaves, I'm afraid that your highness can only go to the imperial city to find her, and you may not be able to find her at that time. Why can't I find her?" Hearing the last few words, the Phoenix King suppressed his anger and asked, "Wang, have you forgotten? That Lord Lianwu is the advisor of God Lord Fog Ripple, and one of the more secretive ones at that. We rarely hear of her name, so it can be seen just how well God Lord Fogripple has hidden her. Did the king think that he would be able to find out anything about an advisor who usually did not see the light of day? Or are you planning to personally ask God Lord Fogripple? I don't believe that God Lord Fogripple would be happy to tell you. Feng Xiao's words were sincere and earnest as he explained patiently. When the Phoenix King heard this, it seemed to make sense. However, she did not know why, but she was extremely unhappy. At this moment, she glanced at Feng Yun, who had a deathly pale expression, and asked with uncertainty, "Have all the parasol trees in our parasol tree forest really disappeared?" This subordinate only heard many sycamore trees say that they would leave with Lord Lianwu. Then this subordinate fainted. This subordinate does not know what happened after that. By the time this subordinate woke up, he was already back at his own residence. Feng Yun didn't dare to hide anything and spoke the truth. "So you didn't see the parasol trees leave with Lord Lianwu?" After hearing this, Feng Xiao quickly asked, "No, I fainted," Feng Yun said with some embarrassment. At this moment, he felt a few dissatisfied gazes and immediately felt guilty. "Your Majesty, since Feng Yun is unable to confirm this matter, why don't you send someone you trust to the parasol tree forest to confirm it?" Feng Xiao suggested. "Well, Feng Yuan, take some people with you to take a look." The Phoenix King nodded and then instructed an elder present. After receiving the order, the elder immediately led the guards to the parasol tree forest. Not long after, they returned and reported truthfully, "Your Majesty, those parasol trees are still here." "Still here? Feng Yun, what do you say?" The Phoenix King narrowed his eyes. He was obviously a little unhappy. "Your Majesty, it must be because Lord Lianwu couldn't take away so many parasol trees at once, so he left them behind. I think she will definitely come back to take them away. I think we should think of a countermeasure as soon as possible. We can't let Lord Lianwu take away all the parasol trees." Feng Yun's forehead was covered in sweat as he thought about what to say. What do you all think of Feng Yun's idea? After hearing Feng Yun's words, the Phoenix King turned to look at the other elders and asked, "Your Majesty, this is inappropriate," Feng Xiao said sternly. Then he began to reason. "King, you've already made an oath. If Lord Lianwu can take away those parasol trees, you can't stop him. Otherwise, the laws of the world will definitely punish you. Once this matter is spread out, our Phoenix clan will probably become people who go back on their words. The reputation of our Phoenix clan cannot be ruined by breaking our promise. Then what do you suggest we do?" When the Phoenix King heard Feng Xiao's words, he roared again in anger. She really wanted to scold him. "You ungrateful wretch, what benefits did Lianwu give you to make you speak up for that ugly woman?" In fact, there was a sentence in her heart that she had never had the chance to say. That was, "I can't stop you. But can't you?" But at this time, the Phoenix King believed that as long as she revealed this thought, she would be despised by the elders who valued the reputation of the Phoenix clan, especially that Feng Xiao, who sided with outsiders. Who knew what kind of great reason he would come up with? With this thought in mind, she could only give up on this idea. Chapter 24:18. The Consequences of Getting Lost 1. In this subordinate's opinion, if Lord Lianwu really comes back to take those parasol trees, we will naturally let him go. Feng Xiao said matter-of-factly, and after that, he deliberately paused and looked up at the dark face of the Phoenix King. When the Phoenix King heard this, he was furious. Fuck. She knew that this damned Feng Xiao would say this. At this moment, she felt even more that Feng Xiao had been bribed by that hateful Lianwu. Otherwise, why would he always favor an outsider? Look, where did they all go? The divine realm was almost unable to contain him, right? However, despite being angry, the Phoenix King miraculously did not roar out immediately this time. She wanted to see what kind of reaction the elders of her family would have after hearing Feng Xiao's words. Just as the Phoenix King had expected, after Feng Xiao's words came to a temporary end, Feng Yun, who was in charge of bringing Lung Ruoxia to the parasol tree forest, immediately shouted with a face full of disbelief. "Elder Feng Xiao, how could you suggest this? If Lord Lianwu takes away all the parasol trees, how do you want our Phoenix clan to live?" At this moment, Other than Feng Yun, no other elder said anything. Feng Yun did not want to say these words, but he knew the king's personality well, and was afraid that the Phoenix King would blame him. Thus, he could only stand out. However, after he bravely said these words, he saw the satisfied expression on the Phoenix King's face from the corner of his eye. Instantly, he relaxed and felt that he had made the right choice. After Feng Xiao heard Feng Yun's words, he did not reveal a guilty or flustered expression as the Phoenix King had hoped. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "I haven't finished yet. Why are you in such a hurry?" Feng Yun was a little dumbfounded. Was this considered to have resolved his question? Wasn't this a little too easy? What I mean is, for the sake of our Phoenix clan's reputation, we can't stop Lord Lianwu from taking away those parasol trees. This is all for the sake of our Phoenix clan's credibility. However, we can be on good terms with Lord Lianwu. As long as we can make Lord Lianwu happy, Lord Lianwu should return the parasol trees to us. After all, she doesn't have much use for those parasol trees, right? Looking at the elders present with a smile, Feng Xiao repeated the words of an elder with a smile. His words also received the approval of most of the elders. For a moment, almost all the elders had their eyes on the Phoenix King, because the elders of the Phoenix tribe were not stupid. The key to being on good terms with Lord Lianwu was their queen. When the Phoenix King heard that the topic had changed back to him, he was furious. Fuck. Were these elders determined to force her to lower her head to Lianwu? She didn't even take Fog seriously. If he wanted her to lower her head to Lianwu, wasn't that asking for her life? The Phoenix King was extremely unwilling, but when he saw the determined looks on the elders' faces, the Phoenix King couldn't help but feel a little irritated. She couldn't understand what was going on with these elders. Why did he change into a completely different person in such a short time? She couldn't even recognize him. In the past, even if the Elder Council didn't listen to her, they rarely opposed her orders, let alone forcing her to be on good terms with the woman she hated. In the past, this was something that would have been impossible. But now, what was with the elders' unyielding expression now? When the Phoenix King saw how unyielding the elders of the Phoenix clan were, he was so mad that he wanted to bite them. Thanks, damn it. The main culprit of all this was Feng Xiao. The Phoenix King was filled with hatred. The gazes that were directed at Feng Xiao became even more unfriendly. However, Feng Xiao acted as if he did not see it and calmly allowed the Phoenix King to look at him. Seeing Feng Xiao's attitude of a dead pig not afraid of boiling water, the Phoenix King was completely speechless, and at the same time he also wilted. "Let me consider this matter," the Phoenix King said with an irritated face. In her heart, she was thinking of dragging it out as long as possible. She really didn't want to deal with that Lianwu. "How long does your Majesty plan to consider?" Feng Xiao, who had seen through the Feng King's thoughts, asked without letting go. "You," the Phoenix King was furious. "This Feng Xiao is doing this on purpose, right? Your Majesty, this matter is easier said than done. Lord Lianwu is still waiting for you at the Peacock clan. If she knows that you've woken up and we haven't sent anyone to inform her, perhaps Lord Lianwu will come to see you in anger. At that time, our Phoenix clan will be in a passive position. Therefore, for the sake of the Phoenix clan, please make your decision as soon as possible." Ignoring the anger of the Phoenix King, Feng Xiao continued to remind him. At this time, other elders echoed, "Your Majesty, Elder Feng Xiao's words are reasonable. I ask your Majesty to quickly decide how to befriend Lord Lianwu. Wasn't there a human saying, 'The King of Hell is easy to see, but the little devil is hard to deal with'?" Although Lord Lianwu was only an assistant to God Lord Rhyme, she was even more of an enemy that could not be offended. Otherwise, as long as she gave us some face in front of God Lord Rhyme, and made things difficult for us, our Phoenix clan would suffer. I hope that your Majesty can put aside your personal grudges for the sake of the Feng clan, and the entire Feng clan will be grateful to you. These words were once again approved by many of the elders. The Phoenix King's face was also so angry that it was impossible to tell what color it was. "You guys have to give me a few days to think about it," the Phoenix King roared in anger as he listened to the long speech. "All right then. However, we can only give you 3 days to consider. I hope you can give us a satisfactory answer after 3 days. Feng Xiao knew very well that he could not force the king too much. After a little thought, he represented that the elders had agreed to the conditions of the Feng king. Seeing that the matter had been settled for the time being, the Phoenix King looked at the elder in front of her and was extremely displeased. She waved her hand and said as if she was shooing away a fly, "Get lost. All of you get out. I don't want to see you right now. Your Majesty, we are the elders of the Phoenix clan. Please respect us. You can ask us to leave, but you can't use the word get lost on us. This is a form of disrespect to us." As soon as the Phoenix King's words fell, Feng Xiao began to criticize him with a righteous look on his face. When the other elders heard this, they first looked at Feng Xiao in a daze, and then suddenly reacted. That's right. Feng Xiao was right. They were the elders of the Phoenix clan. Although their status was not as noble as the Phoenix King, their dignity could not be trampled on by anyone, not even the Phoenix King. With this thought, all the elders were instantly enraged. Of course, these words were also reminded by Feng Xiao. Otherwise, they would not have realized what was wrong with the Phoenix King telling them to get lost. Because in the past, when the Phoenix King was angry, she often used this word on them. However, at that time they didn't feel anything wrong. But now with Feng Xiao's reminder, all the elders instantly came to a realization. The Phoenix King was indeed too disrespectful to them. They were the elders of the Phoenix clan. An elder who had been taking care of the affairs of the Phoenix clan every day, even if he didn't have any merits, he should have worked hard, right? However, not only did the Phoenix King not say a single heartwarming word to them, but he also asked them to get lost. Chapter 24:19. The consequences of getting lost, too. This was really bullying. The more the elders thought about it, the angrier they became. Gradually, the way they looked at the Phoenix King became more and more unfriendly. Seeing this, the Phoenix King was at a loss for a moment. Fuck. So what if these elders were planning to rebel? With this thought in mind, the Phoenix King's anger surged up in his heart, and he roared out in anger. What are you guys doing? Do you want to rebel? What's wrong with telling you to get lost? You're just my dogs. If I tell you to get out, you'll have to get out obediently. Now get out, I don't want to see you. As soon as these words came out, the Phoenix King still didn't realize how serious his words were, but all the elders were dumbfounded and petrified. Was this the king's true thoughts? They were just the king's dogs, so whatever the king asked them to do, they had to do it without any resistance, right? The elders were furious. The sixth elder, who had a rather high status among the elders, glanced at the Phoenix King and said indifferently, "Please speak, Wang Shun. Be careful, my ass. Don't you forget your status, humph. You actually dare to force me to do something I don't like. You guys are really bold. Just you wait, I won't let you off when I'm better." When the Phoenix King heard this, he roared in anger. When the sixth elder heard this, he sighed helplessly. Then he glanced at the Phoenix King with a sympathetic look and said, "King, you must apologize to us elders for your words and report your mistake to the entire clan. Otherwise, we will go on strike." "Right. If the king doesn't apologize to us, we'll go on strike." The sixth elder's words were echoed by the other elders. This time, they were really disappointed. In the past, no one had pointed out the inappropriateness of the king's words. Perhaps no one had thought that it was a big deal for the king to treat them like this. But now, after being pointed out by Elder Feng Xiao, they could not accept it in their hearts. This was like a guy who had been deceiving himself and others all this time. One day, he would no longer be able to deceive himself. Then, the deception that he had suffered in the past would naturally be magnified infinitely. And at this moment, it was precisely such a situation. The crime of the Phoenix King was somewhat unforgivable. However, the Phoenix King obviously didn't believe that these elders would really go on strike. So he said disapprovingly, "Strike? Are you threatening me? I don't buy that. If you want to go on strike, go ahead. Do I care?" Seeing how nonchalant the Phoenix King was and how he was speaking nonchalantly, the hearts of the elders turned cold. They were even more disappointed in the Phoenix King's words and actions. After exchanging a glance with each other, The elders left the Phoenix King's bedchamber together without looking back. Before he left, Feng Xiao still kindly reminded him, "King, don't blame me for not warning you. It's better to quickly decide how to get on good terms with Lord Lianwu. Otherwise, when they come to you personally, you'll be in a very passive position." Feng Xiao didn't have the mood to tell the Phoenix King that even Lord Wu wanted to settle the score with her. It was precisely because no one had told the Phoenix Prince that the completely clueless Phoenix Prince only realized that she had a huge problem waiting for her when Lung Ruoxue came looking for her. But at this time, the Phoenix King didn't care about Feng Xiao's words at all. He only felt that these words made her upset. He glared at Feng Xiao and shouted, "Get lost! Don't let me see you again." "Thanks, don't worry, Your Majesty. Feng Xiao will get lost far away, so that the king can't find me." Feng Xiao smiled indifferently, and then left King Feng's chamber calmly. Without the disturbance of the unsightly elders, the Phoenix King began to recuperate in peace, and ordered the guards not to disturb him for anything. Just like that, the Phoenix King had missed out on many things. By the time she reacted and wanted to make up for it, it was already too late. As for the elders who had left in anger, they immediately called for an emergency elder meeting when they got back. In the end, they decided to go on strike from now on. This time, they were definitely not joking. He was determined to carry out the strike to the end. The elders, who were usually favored by the Phoenix King, did not have any intention to speak up for the Phoenix King at this moment. They were also extremely angry. After the emergency elder council had ended, many elders had decided to leave the Feng clan for a while to take a walk and relax. The elders who planned to stay in the clan decided to go into seclusion, in case the Phoenix King made him a coolie. The Phoenix clan was a rather proud beast clan. Even if the Phoenix King was their king, they were not so cheap as to be treated like dogs by her. After deciding on where to go, the elders of the Feng clan decided to gather again for the last time. After all, it would be difficult for them to be as united as they were now. After the meal, Feng Xiao went to see the sixth elder. The sixth elder was the only one who had no intention of leaving the Feng clan, nor did he have any intention of going into seclusion. After a secret discussion between the two, Feng Xiao left the Feng clan the next day. The sixth elder, who stayed behind, was no longer in charge of the affairs of the Phoenix clan. His only job every day was to visit the two severely injured clansmen. They were the two patriarchs of the Phoenix clan that Lung Ruoxue had sent back as spies. At this time, their injuries had almost recovered, but their memories were still intermittent. It was because of this that the two old phoenixes became patients with peace of mind, and did not ask about the affairs of the Phoenix clan. The two of them were brothers in the same boat. After the previous battle and the experience of becoming Lung Ruoxue's beast together, their relationship had improved by leaps and bounds. The sixth elder, who was usually close to them, was also happy to see this. The sixth elder had always felt that these two guys were usually too isolated, and didn't have any life and death friendship. Now that the sparks of friendship had been ignited in a battle, the two of them would have a place to talk in the Feng clan in the future. With this thought in mind, the sixth elder even arranged for the two to recuperate in the same residence, which was more convenient for her to visit. When he visited the two powerful patients, the sixth elder naturally told them about the current situation of the Feng clan. After hearing it, the two of them were dumbfounded and their eyes widened. Was the heavens helping him? They hadn't even done anything yet. The Phoenix clan had been torn apart? This seemed to be the work of the Phoenix King. When the two of them first heard this news, it really took them a long time to digest it before they came back to their senses. Seeing this, the sixth elder could understand their feelings and consoled them. You don't have to worry too much. Our only purpose is to make the Phoenix King yield. We won't really leave the Phoenix clan to die. That's good. The two of them looked at each other and said in unison. However, they both thought in their hearts that they were not worried at all. They were all Lung Ruoxue's people. The more chaotic the Phoenix clan was, the better it would be for them. Ai. After appeasing the two patients, the sixth elder sighed again. Chapter 24:20. The Consequences of Getting Lost 3. Seeing this, one of the elders of the Phoenix clan couldn't help but ask, Xiaolu, why are you sighing? Hearing the two words little sixth elder was deeply conflicted. The three of them were clearly of the same generation, but these two guys always called her little six because they were older. When she heard these two words, she felt very helpless. Please don't call me little six, okay? The sixth elder requested after another sigh. Then you're called Lulu? But I still feel that little six is more amiable. An old phoenix said with a smirk. Forget it, you'll just be called little six. The sixth elder was helpless. Then, after thinking for a while, she said, Feng Xiao. He has already left the Feng clan. What? Hearing this, one of the old phoenixes immediately jumped up in shock and spoke with some anger. He has left the Phoenix clan to train. The sixth elder said honestly. In fact, she had hesitated for a long time and finally decided to tell someone this news, in case someone heard about this from other clansmen and blamed her for hiding it. Damn it! Who told him to leave the Feng clan? A certain old ancestor of the Phoenix race roared out in anger. That bastard! He didn't care about his father who was severely injured and went out to train at this time? What was he trying to do? Was he rebelling? The Feng clan is in troubled times right now. It's a good thing for Feng Xiao to go out and gain experience. Besides, he's already an adult and an elder of the Phoenix clan. You don't think that any human would dare to bully him, do you? Seeing a certain someone's extreme reaction, the sixth elder couldn't help but advise. She had promised Feng Xiao that she wouldn't tell anyone about his departure from the Feng clan, but now she had broken her promise. Therefore, she really felt that she had the obligation to appease this furious fellow in front of her. Old Fire, I think what little six said makes sense. That little guy Feng Xiao has already left. Do you still want to go and catch him back? The other Phoenix ancestor, who was calm and composed, gave the furious old Phoenix a knowing look. The old Phoenix, who was called Old Hua, calmed down instantly. In fact, the reason why Old Fire was so anxious was that he was afraid that his rash descendant would go to find his master. If that kid did something to annoy his master, he simply didn't dare to imagine what kind of consequences Feng Xiao would have. He was afraid that Song, who was next to his master, would not let Feng Xiao off. Old Fire's heart was filled with regret. If it wasn't for the time when he was chatting with Feng Miao, the other ancestor of the Feng clan, and accidentally mentioned his master, which was heard by Feng Xiao, he was afraid that Feng Xiao would not have such a big opinion of his master. He even said arrogantly that he would meet Lung Ruoxue when he had the chance. He knew very well what his son meant. However, it was also because of their conversation that Feng Xiao inadvertently found out the truth of their mission. He found out about him and Feng Miao's undercover mission, and their thoughts. Every time the two of them saw Feng Xiao, they spared no effort in instilling him with the story of the previous Prince Feng. Although Feng Xiao didn't have much of a reaction at that time, the two of them knew very well that Feng Xiao had long accumulated dissatisfaction with the current Prince Feng. Feng Xiao had also blamed Feng Tong for the two of them being captured. This was also the main reason why Feng Xiao had tried so hard to help an outsider. Feng Xiao wanted to take revenge for his father. Therefore, even though he clearly knew how much the Phoenix King hated Lian Wu, he still praised Lian Wu in front of the elders and told them not to offend Lian Wu. With his eloquence, his words naturally won the hearts of the elders and inadvertently helped Lung Ruoxue a lot. However, Feng Xiao was not clear about Lian Wu's true identity, so he spared no effort to speak up for her. Otherwise, once he knew that Lian Wu was Lung Ruoxue, it was hard to say whether he would help. Who asked him to hold a grudge against Lung Ruoxue? And now, Feng Xiao had secretly left the Feng clan, and it was very likely that he would find trouble with his own master. Thinking of this, Old Fire was anxious, but under the comfort of Feng Miao's eyes, Old Fire temporarily suppressed it and tried to hide the anxiety in his heart. After casually chatting with the sixth elder for a while, Old Fire deliberately showed a tired state. The sixth elder saw this, so he tactfully chose to leave. As soon as the sixth elder left, Old Fire immediately grabbed Feng Miao's sleeve and sent a voice transmission with a worried face. What should we do? What should he do? If that stinky brat were to provoke Master, would he be able to come back alive? Who do you think you are? Master would not kill innocent people. Don't worry. Although Feng Miao was comforting him like this, to be honest, he didn't have much confidence. Because he knew that Master might not kill the Feng clan for the sake of Feng Zhan and the other ancestors, but that terrifying song by Master's side might not let go of the fellow who provoked Master. Therefore, if Feng Xiao really found his master, it was very likely that he would be in deep trouble. However, he didn't dare to say these words at this time. Otherwise, it would be strange if Old Fire didn't go crazy. Just like now, when the two of them chatted, they could only use voice transmission to avoid others from discovering their identities as spies. It was not the right time to expose themselves. Thanks all of a sudden, Feng Miao had a flash of inspiration, and she transmitted her voice to Old Hua with a happy expression. Old friend, why don't you contact Master and tell her about the Feng clan, and also about Feng Xiao? Will this work? Old Fire was a little afraid that his master would be angry, because the two of them had not made any progress in their undercover work, but they had exposed their own identity first. Although it was his own descendant who knew his identity, after all, he had not been able to convince that kid to join his master. Therefore, he felt that he was too ashamed to see his master. Sob. He was so conflicted and in a difficult position. Let's try. We can't hide this matter. Otherwise, if your Feng Xiao really comes to find Master and Master doesn't know anything about it and isn't prepared at all, then... Feng Wan only said half of her sentence before she deliberately stopped and let Old Fire think about it. Old Fire quickly thought about it. Finally, he slapped his thigh and made up his mind. I'm going all out. I should tell Master. When he finished his sentence, he did not have any confidence at all. He looked at Feng Miao pitifully, and Feng Miao gave Old Fire an encouraging look. Just like that, Old Fire's little heart trembled as he took the initiative to contact Lung Ruoxue. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue, who was enjoying herself in the Peacock tribe, was surprised to receive a message from an undercover old phoenix. Then, she saw Tsong smirk and guessed that something must have happened in the phoenix tribe that she didn't know about. However, the evil Tsong didn't tell her. After connecting to the old phoenix's voice transmission, Lung Ruoxue patiently listened to the old phoenix's report. Finally, Old Fire stammered for a long time before he finally mustered his courage and said to his master, Master, our identities have been exposed. The moment she heard the word exposed, Lung Ruoxue could not help but worry for the two old phoenixes. She could not help but ask, then how does the Phoenix King plan to deal with you? I'm currently in the Phoenix territory. Don't worry, I'll find a way to save you. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue had already forgotten about the old phoenix's previous report. In her heart, only the old phoenix had exposed this fact. On the other hand, when Old Flame heard this, he knew that his master had misunderstood. However, he was still touched by his master's care and love. When their master heard that their identities had been exposed, not only did he not blame them, but he also wanted to save them. What a good master! Old Fire was moved to tears. When Feng Miao, who was beside him, saw this, she thought that Old Fire had been blamed by its master and was extremely anxious. After slightly calming down his excited mood, Old Fire was touched and explained to his master the reason for his exposure. He emphasized that Feng Xiao may go to find his master, and hoped that his master would be magnanimous and not hold it against him. After Lung Ruoxue understood everything, she felt a little embarrassed. So she had misunderstood. However, even if the Phoenix King were to find out the identity of the two old phoenixes, she would definitely think of a way to save them. Only she could bully her beastie. If others wanted to bully him, there was no way. After figuring out the truth of the matter, Lung Ruoxue readily agreed to Old Fire's request. If Feng Xiao really delivered himself to her door, she promised that she would not make things difficult for that phoenix. When Old Fire heard this, he immediately felt relieved. Suddenly, Old Fire came to a realization and said with disbelief, Master, you just said that you were in the Phoenix territory. Did I hear you wrong? You didn't hear wrong. I'm in the Phoenix territory now, but I'm using someone else's identity. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Someone else's identity? Old Fire pondered hard after hearing that. If his master really came to the Phoenix territory, It would certainly cause a big commotion. Therefore, he combined the things that the sixth elder had told them in his heart, and guess which one was his master. After a moment of silence, Old Fire suddenly roared in shock. Master, master, I heard that a human called Lian Wu has recently come to the clan, and he's the advisor of Fog Ice. Is that you? It's me, your master. However, you must keep this a secret. When Lung Ruoxua heard Old Fire's surprised voice, her mood suddenly turned for the better. Don't worry, master. I won't tell anyone. Old Fire promised. The admiration in his heart for his master was like a surging river, endless, because he had heard a lot about Lord Lian Wu from the sixth elder, and also from the grapevine. At that time, he worshipped the person who could cause trouble for the Phoenix King. Now that he heard that that person was his master, the worship in his heart could not be suppressed no matter what. Old Fire was excited again. Chapter 24-21. Nouveau riche Lung Ruoxua 1. As expected of my master. No matter where they went, it would not be peaceful. Old Fire couldn't help but think. Of course, his words were not meant to mock Lung Ruoxua, but to express his envy, admiration, and adoration. One had to know that other people didn't have the ability to be like master. Only his master could turn the place upside down and make it a horrible sight. How capable was this? Old Fire's respect for its master rose to an unprecedented level. However, it was fortunate that Lung Ruoxua had yet to find out Old Fire's thoughts. Otherwise, she would have been extremely depressed. Because no matter how she listened to Old Fire's praise, she felt that something was wrong. At this moment, Feng Miao, who was waiting for the news at the side, saw her old buddy crying, laughing, and standing there in a daze. She was extremely anxious. How much stimulation did he have to go through to make this old friend of his like this? Feng Miao looked worriedly at her fellow brother who was in trouble, thinking that she must comfort him later. Sigh. Master must be blaming him. Feng Miao kept sighing at the side, while Old Fire's excitement could not be described with words. After chatting with Lung Ruoxua for a long time, Old Fire finally ended the conversation with Lung Ruoxua reluctantly. This was a decision that Old Fire had made with great difficulty after Lung Ruoxua had become a little impatient. Otherwise, he would have continued the conversation. After Old Hua ended the voice transmission, he was still a little dazed and touched his moist eyes from time to time. Feng Yuan saw this and sighed. Old Fire, don't be too sad. Master is definitely just angry for a moment. He won't really blame you. Feng Miao did not know how to comfort Old Fire, and was not sure if his master was really angry, so he could only guess and comfort him based on his own judgment. However, Old Fire was confused when he heard what he said. Who said that the master is blaming me? Old Hua blinked his eyes in a daze, and said with a blank expression, Master didn't blame you? When Feng Miao heard this, she was also stunned for a moment. No, I didn't. Master also said that if she really saw Feng Xiao, she would not make things difficult for him. Old Fire said honestly. As he spoke, he became excited again, and his face instantly turned red. Then, why are you crying? Hearing Old Fire's words, Feng Miao asked speechlessly. So she had misunderstood. However, he couldn't be blamed for this. It was this old thing who made him misunderstand. I'm touched and excited. Master is so concerned about us. Old Fire was so excited that he was almost out of breath. After he suppressed his excitement and reported the matter to Feng Miao was instantly excited as well. You said that Master is in the Phoenix territory? Feng Miao asked in disbelief. Yup. Didn't I already tell you? This matter must be kept a secret. When Master comes to the Phoenix clan, we have to pretend that we don't know Master. Old Fire could not help but remind him. You don't have to tell me that, I know what to do. However, don't you think we should go and see Master? It's been a long time since I've seen Master, and I've been having weird thoughts. Feng Miao suggested with some uncertainty. Let's just sneak a look at Master. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself when I see Master in public, and he'll be exposed. After thinking for a while, Old Fire said, Thanks, all right. Feng Miao also nodded in agreement. Then, the two old phoenixes waited for Lung Ruoxua in the clan with a heart full of excitement. Who knew that even after waiting for several days, they still didn't hear Lord Lianwu coming. Just as the two old phoenixes were waiting anxiously, the two with sharp ears suddenly heard a clansman wildly shouting, "Lord Lianwu is here! Everyone, be on guard!" When the two of them heard this cry, they looked at each other speechlessly. They thought to themselves, "It seems that Master has brought quite a bit of excitement to their own clansmen." However, as a member of the Phoenix clan, he had to do something for the clan. With that thought in mind, the two of them revealed a tacit smile, and were about to walk out when they were stopped at the gate by the sixth elder. The sixth elder looked at the two restless phoenixes with an unfriendly expression, and said in an unpleasant tone, "Where do you guys want to go?" "Ehe. Little Six, we heard that the legendary Lord Lianwu is here, so we want to go and take a look." Old Fire and Feng Miao looked at each other and said in unison, "Don't go. Stay here obediently. You're still patients." The sixth elder didn't even think about it, and stopped the two old phoenixes who wanted to watch the fun from going out to join in the fun. When the two old phoenixes heard this, they immediately cried and drooped their heads. Sob. Little Six was really too dictatorial. It was not easy for their master to come here. They really wanted to sneak a peek. Even just a glance would do. However, Little Six didn't allow them to go out. What the hell is this? However, the two of them couldn't openly say that she was their master, and that they had to see her since she was here at the Feng clan. Ugh. They must not expose their relationship now. However, if they were not allowed to see their master, the two old phoenixes suddenly felt an itch in their hearts. It was as if a kitten was scratching their hearts with its claws, making them feel quite uncomfortable. The next moment, the two of them looked pitifully at the overbearing sixth elder. Seeing this, the sixth elder couldn't help but hold his forehead and said with a headache, "It's for your own good that I don't let you out." That Lianwu clearly came with ill intentions, and the king has no one to use. Don't forget, you haven't fully recovered from your injuries. Her words were definitely from the bottom of her heart. The two old phoenixes also understood that Little Six was doing this for their own good, and they could not directly tell their little thoughts to the sixth elder. Therefore, for a moment, the two old phoenixes were extremely conflicted. Seeing them like this, the sixth elder's heart softened and he softened his tone. "It's not impossible for you to go out and take a look at Lord Wu, but you absolutely can't go out now. Let's wait until this matter is almost over before going out. Now all of you go back and take a nap." In fact, the sixth elder was also quite curious about what the Mist sect would do. However, she knew the Phoenix King too well. She knew that the Phoenix King would definitely find an elder to deal with it. And now, besides her, the sixth elder, who had gone on strike, there were no other idle elders in the Phoenix clan. At this time, the elders of the Phoenix clan were either in seclusion or had left home. Therefore, the sixth elder was definitely not willing to be used by the unrepentant Phoenix King. When Old Fire and Feng Miao heard the sixth elder's words, they both smiled evilly and said in unison, "Right. We can't let the king use us as laborers, so let's wait and go out to watch the show." When the sixth elder heard this, he nodded in satisfaction. Then the three old phoenixes, who currently had the highest status in the Phoenix clan, turned around and returned to their rooms, drinking tea and chatting. At the same time, Lung Ruoxua, who had been treated as a jinx by the phoenixes and was on high alert, led the large group once again. They marched from the main entrance of the Phoenix clan's territory and headed towards the Phoenix Royal Palace. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.